Hello, everybody. Welcome to Saturday night live stream with me. Well. I decided that I wanted to do a live stream tonight, so I'm doing a live stream tonight. Oh, and I just got a message here. Cool. Anyway, I wanted to do a live stream and talk about E.T., my favorite movie. A little bit about E.T. Because today is the 40-year anniversary of E.T. So let's talk about that for a minute. You know, let me bring up my video that I did. I wanted to share that. I did a nice little podcast a year ago on the 39-year anniversary of E.T. And I talked with one of my buddies who felt very similar to the way I did about E.T. And we did a podcast that is, it's pretty long. I think it's around 2 hours. Let me see right here. Yeah, it's almost 2 hours long, but I'll link it in case anybody wants to see it after the live stream's over. Copy. And here it is right here. We go into a lot of detail, and I show different things from the movie and different places that I've been and all that good stuff. So if you do want to check that out, I'll pin it to the top right there. But I know this is an unexpected live stream. I don't normally do lives on Saturday, but why not? Why not? Those of you that know me well know that E.T. is my all-time favorite movie. Ever since I saw it 40 years ago. I did a little video thing on Instagram. I did a couple posts on Instagram today. And I got to say that I'm really surprised because Dee Wallace, the mom in E.T., she commented on my post. And that was super awesome. I still can't believe that. I actually met her before. Years ago, probably maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I met her, and she's in one of my videos. She was at a horror convention, and some of you guys already know the story, but I was there, and well, first of all, so E.T. has been my favorite movie since I was a little kid because I remember 40 years ago it was released, 40 years ago today. And it was a hot summer. My little brother Brian was just born. He was only 3 weeks old, and it was really hot out. And we didn't have air conditioners back then. I mean, we did, but we didn't. My family didn't have air conditioners. Which is, I think back to that, and it's kind of ironic because my dad, from the time I was born for the next, I would say next 10 years of my life. He worked at Carrier, and we didn't have central air or anything like that. But yeah, we went to the movies. At the time I didn't know what ET was about. I just knew we were going to go see a movie on that summer day, and it was me and my little brother Pat. Pat's 2.5 years younger than me, and I was 6 at the time, 1982. And 2 of our neighbors that my mom used to babysit. And we went to see E.T. And I remember going there and going to the movie theater, and I just remember the whole atmosphere of it. It's a very nostalgic feeling for me. And I remember where we sat in the movie theater. We went up and we sat right up near the front to the left, on the left-hand side, up near the front. I always hated sitting up too close to the front, but by the time we got there, that's the only place we could sit. So, we all crammed in there, and we waited for the movie to come on, and then it came on, and the music and just everything about it. I was just entranced into the movie. I mean, I immediately identified with the character Elliot. How he liked, he was around my age, a little bit older than me. In fact, it's funny because when the movie came out, they must have filmed it in 81 or 81, because Drew Barrymore in real life is a little bit older than me. And in the movie, I just feel like I was more Elliot's age, but I wasn't. He's older than me in real life. So yeah, I identified with Elliot. He had Star Wars characters. He was talking about Star Wars. He rode his BMX bike, which I also did. They were talking about Dungeons and Dragons, just everything that I loved, at that time. I mean, I guess I still do love it, but like, especially back then, just being a little kid growing up. And I remember that movie, and I talk about this in the little Instagram thing I did, but it really did it pulled at my heartstrings, and it was emotional and powerful, and it really inspired me. I had never seen a movie quite like that before, and I haven't seen too many like it since. It really is my favorite movie for all those reasons, and when I left the movie theaters, I was like, that was an awesome movie. I don't think we said awesome back then in 1982, but that's what I was thinking. And then I remember we went and saw it for a second time in the movie theater. And it's funny because the first one, as a little 6-year-old boy, I cried, and I felt like a little baby when I was done. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I cried. And then we went to see it again, and I'm like, I already know what's going to happen. I'm not going to cry. And I cried again. It was that powerful. And then all these years later, I went to see it with a couple of my friends back in 2019. And I said to myself, I wonder if it's going to make me cry, if the movie's going to make me cry. Because not many things do. And I haven't really cried in a long time. But as soon, like, I'm like, if it does make me cry, I know the part that it's going to happen. But I was wrong. As soon as it started and the music started playing, all those memories came back, and my eyes watered up, and that's one of the only movies that can do that to me. And it's because it gives me a sense of nostalgia that's so powerful. It just brings me right back to that like very pleasant moment of my life. And I have a mixture, I talk about this in another video, but there's a mixture for me of what that means. It's a very happy feeling mixed with a very sad feeling at the same time, because the happy feeling is like, I can remember almost exactly how everything was, the atmosphere, how I was feeling, as a 6-year-old boy in 1982, just everything around me, and, the friends that I had, the family I had, how I felt, as a 6-year-old with my family, which that relationship is completely different now that I'm an adult, but all those things, like, it brought me back to a nice warm place, and it was mixed with sad emotions because I know that moment is gone forever. There's no way to go back except for in your mind. It's gone forever. And so that part of it is sad whenever I think of it. And again, there's a few movies that can kind of do this, but no movie can do this to me the way E.T. does. But there are a few other ones that kind of, bring me back and make me feel like, that nostalgia again. But at the same time, so last year we had a watch party, and we watched Goonies, and, I don't know how this is for other people, but for me, even though I love this movie more than any other movie that I've ever seen, because it's so much more than a movie to me. It's more of like a feeling and an experience, and I always want to look forward to seeing this movie, again and again, but I try not to watch it too often because I don't want to dull those senses by watching it over and over and over and over. So I try not to watch it every year. And that's why I'm not doing a watch party this year, because, I was thinking about it. I did it last year when I did that, when I went out to, I went out to California, and I went to a few different places, which I did show in the little Instagram video, a few different locations. And I have met a couple characters from the cast. So I'll lead up to that, but I just wanted to like lead up to how this movie makes me feel. So, that to me, it's, not just a movie to me. And some people some people, I guess, aren't like that. They just see a movie for a movie. But I'm sure some of you, there are movies out there for you guys that do that for you. And I mean, go ahead and put them in the comments and tell me what movie does that for you, or if it's E.T. that does it for you. But at the same time, like I want, like, I wish everybody would see this movie, because even though it's like, it's definitely set in the 80s and everything about it is in the 80s. And for me, it's captured in that time. In another way, I think it's like a timeless movie, so that anybody can watch this movie at any time, and it still has like the same message and stuff like that. So I would, if you haven't seen the movie, I would highly recommend it. It's a great, wholesome movie. I think it's for kids, although some kids have said that it scared them at the beginning. And some people that haven't seen it just say, E.T. freaks me out, I don't want to watch it. And like, I mean, I feel like you're missing out on something amazing. But, that's your, you don't have to watch it if you don't want to. But also, I don't think, I don't know, but I would guess that I don't think that everybody could get like the same. I think the feeling that I got from it, that other people got from it when we watched it when it came out, I may be wrong, but I think that's forever gone, just because, times are different now. Like, it's a movie of its time. And I feel like if somebody was like young and watched it now, it would be a little bit different today than it was watching it in 1982. Just like I think it's like that for a lot of movies. There are some that it just doesn't matter when you watch it, but I think that one might be one of those, just because the times are different, and the times are, you can never understand the experience of it unless you lived it. Just like I could never understand the experience of things that my parents experienced. I think I could probably come close to doing enough research and looking at things and trying to put pieces together, but I was not there. I wasn't alive at that point, so I can never quite grasp the way that they felt at that time. Just like, I think it's like that for each generation. There's something that each generation has that the next ones don't. Anyway, so I watched it twice when it was in the theaters when I was a kid, and then I saw it once in the theater back in 2019, and that was to the sound of a live Syracuse Symphony. I think they're called something different now, but they were the Syracuse Symphony. So that was amazing. They played all John Williams music, and that music from that movie is just some of the best music ever. It's just, partly, without the music, you don't have as powerful a movie as you have there. So E.T. I love cats. No, you guys know what I'm talking about if you saw that video. So over the years, I've collected different things. I have the original E.T. VHS tape, which at the time there were no real VHS tapes coming out in 1982. So this I think was released in 1988, and my uncle bought it for me, and I kept it. E.T., the original Macrovision MCA. And then I've collected different things over the years as well, and some of you have sent me different awesome E.T. memorabilia, which I'm really grateful that you guys did. Let's see. One of my most prized possessions from E.T. is I got a nice record that one of you sent me, but also so I'm gonna set this story up. Some of you already know it, some of you don't. So I always would go to the Syracuse horror conventions, which were always called Scaricon, and I would have my own table there as the vegan zombie, and I knew the people that put it on, so I would always like help them out, do social media promotion and stuff like that, and I would get a free table. I would me and John started out doing this during their first one that they ever did. And we would do this every year. And I don't remember exactly what year. It might have been 2014 or 15, somewhere around there. I was there, and Dee Wallace was there. Dee Wallace is the mom from E.T. And this was a 3-day event. And I never really have been starstruck or anything like that. Like I just see another, a famous actor. I'm like, oh, that's cool to see that person in real life. And I'm just like, whatever. But when I saw Dee Wallace, you got to understand that E.T. was like, it's my all-time favorite movie. So in a sense, like I pictured Dee Wallace as like my make-believe pretend movie mom. Okay. And I saw her and I was like, oh my God. Like, and I think I'm a functional, extroverted introvert, but before the days of doing Vegan Zombie, at least me in front of the camera, I was always a true introvert and very shy. And I knew in my head I needed to talk to her. I needed to, and I never, another thing that I never really did was like a lot of these actors are there at these conventions and they sell pictures of their movies or them in it, and they'll sign it for you, and then you have to pay for that. So this isn't like you can just walk up to every celebrity and just like, can I get a picture with you, without paying them extra money to do that. So I kind of like stayed away from most of the actors. I just like watched them from afar, stuff like that, unless there was somebody like Dee Wallace, So and I also did that with Greg Nicotero at the Monroeville Mall for the Dawn of the Dead convention, and I met him, and he was really cool. But back to Dee Wallace. So she was there for 3 days, and the first day I saw her, I just kind of like looked over at her table, and there was other people talking to her, and she had all these amazing pictures, and I just walked right by, too scared. Second day, when I got a break from my table, I did the same thing. I just walked by Dee Wallace, and I just like, watched from afar for a little bit and then just kept walking. And then the third day, I'm like, this is it, Chris. You have to talk. This is like a public speaking assignment in like a classroom where, you have to read your speech out loud in front of the class. But you don't want to, you do want to volunteer, but you don't at the same time. And you keep putting it off. And then you end up being the last one having to speak. So here I am again for the third day. This is the last day. This is it. I might never see her again. And, but I will also say that during that time there, I also met another person from ET on that same day. C. Thomas Howell was one of Mike's friends. Elliot's older brother, Mike, his friend in the biker crew, the BMXers, was C. Thomas Howell. And I think his credit in that movie, he was only Thomas Howell. And I think that may have been the first movie he was in. But he was in the movie. He's also a pony boy from Outsiders, and he became famous through a lot of other movies. And some people know him today as a serial killer from Criminal Minds. I didn't see that, but I know a lot of people recognize him as that. Anyway, he was there, and he was at an after party, and everybody was at, and I just was like, "Hey, can I get a photo with you?" And he's like, "Oh, sure." And we have a photo together too. But back to Dee Wallace, the last day there, I'm walking around. I knew I needed to talk to Dee Wallace. So she's talking to this little kid. He's probably like 13 or 14, and she's talking to him, and there's nobody else at the table. So I kind of walk over and I'm looking. So I know that she's not going to start talking to me because she's talking to him. So I'm like, okay for now. Like, I'm just looking around at like all of her, she's been in a lot of movies, and a lot of movies that I like, but no movie as great as E.T. So I'm looking at all the pictures because I know that I want to buy a picture. It was like, I think it was like $30 to get a picture and have it signed and meet Dee. So I'm like, I definitely want to do this, or I'm going to regret it the rest of my life. So I'm looking at all the pictures, but I already knew right off the bat which one. All these pictures were really cool, but there was one that I really, really wanted, and that was, of course, E.T. So, I mean, she was in The Howling and Cujo and Lords of Salem and Halloween, Rob Zombies, and so many different movies. Like, I mean, she's in so many movies. So this little kid finally, walks away, and I'm thinking, hi. And she was super nice, and she looked at me and she's like, how are you doing? I'm like, oh, hi. And she's like, let me know if there's any questions you have. If you have any questions about the making of any of these movies, if you have any questions about me working with Steven Spielberg or anything like that, like, just ask me. And I'm thinking to myself, awesome. Like, I love making movies myself, like amateur movies. I have so many questions. Like, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, E.T. is my favorite movie. I love, I love these movies, and I've got so many questions. Let me just think of the first one that I want to ask you. And my mind went blank, and I'm like, I've got nothing to say. I don't know what to say to her. And so I'm just like, my favorite movie of all time is E.T. So I'm gonna grab this photo of you and could you sign it for me? And she's like, yeah. What's your name? And I'm like, my name's Chris. And she signs it. And here it is right here. So in case there's a glare, it says to Chris, be good. That's D. Wallace. And then I asked if, she asked if I wanted to get a picture with her. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So we took a couple pictures, and one of the pictures we took, I posted on Instagram today, and she commented on my Instagram post, and I was like, no way, you got to be kidding. Like, that is amazing. I'm starstruck again. Anyway, let's get a focus. There's me and Dee. And she commented a smiley face and a heart, and I will cherish that. But before I left, so I got this picture, and then I said, because I'm like, if I don't ask now, like, I might as well just ask. I'm like, hey, I have a YouTube channel, and I was wondering, could I get a quick video with you? And she's like, oh yes, like, absolutely, yes. And you can see that on one of my YouTube videos. And I'm very awkward in it. This was at the beginning of me trying to do more videos and not be shy in front of the camera. But I was I wouldn't be like that now, but I was really awkward. I was just like, yeah, and I told her, I'm like this was like the highlight of my day. And she's like, oh, shucks. And I wasn't just saying that. It really was. Like, this was, and this is one of my most amazing moments, is meeting Dee Wallace from E.T. C. Thomas Howell didn't really talk to me. So that was just like, we just got a picture. But Dee was very, very sweet. She was very nice. And I'm not done with the story, because my next closest in age to me, my brother Pat, who went to the movies in 1982 with me to see E.T. We grew up, same movies, same everything, so as I walked away, I said goodbye to Dee. I messaged my brother and I said, I just met Dee Wallace. Do you want? And I said, I just met Dee Wallace, and she signed a picture for me. And he's like, can you get me one too? And I was like, yeah. And I walked back over and I'm like, could I buy another one for he actually wanted it for his wife. So I'm like, could you make it out to Steph? And she's like, absolutely. And she did another one. And then the very next day, my brother, he travels a lot. He's in the military. He travels. And he messages me the next morning and says, hey, I'm at the airport right now. Guess who I'm standing next to? And I'm like, He's like, yeah, Dee Wallace. I'm standing right next to her. I'm like, dude, you need to say hi to her and say that I just met her yesterday and I'm the one that did like the little YouTube video with her. And he's like, no, she's on the phone. I don't want to interrupt her. And that was my story about Dee Wallace. And it's a very nice story. I like it. I also like that she commented on the post today. So I'm rambling. Let's let you guys talk for a minute. Oh, wait, what? This is my stream? All right, I guess I'll keep talking then. So anyway, so where are we at now? So that was a few years ago. Okay, so then I'm out in California a few years ago, and I had the idea that I wanted to go to some of the locations where they filmed E.T. because I had been to California for like different expos and stuff like that, but I only did the expos. I didn't really do much anything else. Like I ate at a lot of different restaurants. I met people like Moby, and I went to, I hiked up to the Hollywood sign, and went to Griffith Observatory. Had some good fun out there. But then I was like, I want to find out where the ET locations are. So I looked those up, and I did a live stream a few years back while I was sitting in the park. If you guys know ET, you know the part where they're leaving, and Mike and Elliot they take off with ET and the ambulance, the van, and they kind of like do a burnout and crash in the little park. Well, that park right there is still there, and the same little, it's like a little caterpillar monkey bar kind of thing. It's still there, and that's like the one thing that I think is the only thing that's still there from the movie, because it looks a little different because more trees have grown and stuff. So I sat there, and I just was like, it was so peaceful being at a place, and for me, like, I think too deeply sometimes about certain things. Like, I mean, on the outside, on the surface, it's just a park. Okay, yeah, they filmed ET here, great. But what my brain was saying, like, the only difference between right now and them filming my favorite movie of all time is like 38 years, because it was a few years ago, 37 years, whatever. And I'm like sitting here right now, and it, time has changed, but this is the exact location where all of this was filmed, that came to, warm the hearts of so many millions of people. I mean, this was for the longest time the highest grossing film of all time. And if you take inflation into account and all that, from where we are now, it's still one of the top movies of all time. And, so I sat there for a while, and then I turned my camera on and I did a live stream, and I took a few photos there. And then I went back to California last year, right at this time. And we went to the house, Elliot's house, the driveway where Mike's driving down, trying to learn to drive the car. And, I went to the house, and I took a picture in front of it. And I posted that on my other Instagram, Vegan Zombie account. Over the years, I've got, I'd like to show you a bunch of them, like what I have here as far as ET goes, if you guys want. No copy and paste. You have a phone home tattoo. That's amazing. I've always wanted something ET. I saw this, and I never buy magazines, and especially expensive ones like this. But I had to buy this yesterday. It's ET 40-year anniversary magazine. It was pretty expensive for just being a small little magazine, but I figured, why not? It was $13.99. I'm going to try to keep it in mint condition. And like the whole thing is like the making of ET and stuff. And that's what I'm all about. So to me, this was worth it. I guess if E.T. is not your favorite movie, this probably isn't worth it to you. But for me, yes. Okay, I just wanted to show a few pictures, if I can find them. I wish I could find all of them, the ones that I was just telling you about. Maybe I can. I have them on my phone, but I wanted to show you on here. E.T. Dad. So, growing up in the 80s, especially after seeing E.T., a lot of things in my family revolved around E.T. There's the video. I'm going through some old folders right now. My dad on like a VHS camera when we were little, he filmed, he bought an E.T. mask at Sears, like right after the movie came out. And that mask was in our family all the way up until I think last year or the year before. He told me he threw it away. I'm like, Dad, that was an original E.T. mask. Why didn't you ask me? He's like, it was all ripping apart. I'm like, Dad. So my mom's favorite singer was Neil Diamond, and Neil Diamond did a song, Turn On Your Heart Light. So that became like a big song in our house, along with all the other Neil Diamond songs. And here's the other thing. I hated Neil Diamond when I was a little kid because my mom would just listen to it on the record. And if we were being bad, she would just turn it up while she vacuumed, and we would be in like Sweet Caroline or Forever in Blue or whatever. Used to be's don't count anymore. Like, I always thought that used to be's don't count anymore. They just lie on the floor till we sweep them away. I never knew until I was older, and I did a little Snapchat with it. Maybe I'll do it again because it was kind of funny. But in my mind, my little kid mind, when Neil Diamond says used to be's don't count anymore, they just lie on the floor till we sweep them away. I didn't know used to be's are like, just like a phrase or a saying. I thought they were like bumblebees that ended up, eventually dying, and then you swept them away. So, the mind of a little kid. And so we loathed Neil Diamond. We did not like Neil Diamond as kids because my mom would always, it was mom music. But then as we got older, that Neil Diamond music was nostalgic, and we love Neil Diamond. And anytime we hear that, I think of my mom listening to Neil Diamond or, whatever the case may be in our household. I have a bunch of ET photos because Official Film Fest, which has permission from, I think, Amblin Road, which is Steven Spielberg's production company, to get actual high quality pictures from them for ET, and I used those. They were more than happy to let me use all those pictures for the video that I did. And if you guys have time and you're interested, I talk with another. He actually did the podcast with me, and then when we were done, so Ari, thank you so much for this super chat. It's Happy ET Day, and thank you for so many ET memorabilia things. Because I have a lot of it hanging up and around me and stuff like that. And in fact, I got this that you just sent, this ET belt buckle here. Thank you. I appreciate it all. And I got this ET shirt that I'm wearing at Universal Studios last June when I went there with Lisa, happiest vegan on earth. And I'm like, I'm pretty frugal. I don't buy like a lot of like stuff like that, but I saw the ET and I'm like, I need to get this and the hoodie or just this or this, and I'm like, I'm just going to regret it if I don't get it. So I bought this and I love it. And it was just like the perfect day to wear it today. I was leading up to something. What was I saying? Somebody remind me what I was just about to say. Do I have to rewind this? Glad you made it, Mike. We're talking movies. We're talking my favorite movie today. Amblin Road let me use these pictures. Oh, okay. So this is how the podcast happened, because I always did these. I always did video things, which I'm not really sure if those are podcasts. So my friend, who is around the same age as me, he's like a year younger. He met me at Strong Hearts Cafe. We were volunteering for an event, and we went in there and gave our time to prep a bunch of food for a farm sanctuary event, an animal sanctuary event. And he asked me what my favorite movie was, because he kind of gathered that we were around the same age, and he's like, I haven't really met too many people like him, and he's a lot like me. He's but the way he articulated things, and he just seemed like a deep thinker, not just like, normally when I would ask somebody what their favorite movie was, they would just be like, oh yeah, Terminator 2, or whatever the movie is, When he asked me what my favorite movie was, and I said my favorite movie of all time is E.T., and I went into detail of why that was my favorite movie. Like, to me, like I told him, it's not just a movie to me. It's more than a movie. It's more of a feeling. It's like, it brings me right back to where I was in that, certain time and place. And it's like a time machine for me. So of course it's one of my favorite things. And that really, stuck with him. So a few years later, he asked me if I would be on his podcast, or do a podcast with him. I'm like, yeah, sure. So I went over, and he had like the studio at his buddy's house, which his buddy had the audio equipment and everything, and they set it up, and it sounds really, really nice from, the microphones we used and the program that we used. And we just sat there and we talked about ET for almost 2 hours. And when we were leaving, I said, let me know when when I can see this, when I can listen to this podcast. And he's like, oh, I was wondering if you would put it on your channel, because I don't have a podcast or a website or anything that I would do. And I just thought it would be great to get this interview from you. Otherwise, like, you probably never would have got that story out. And I was like, I see what you did there. So it took me, because we did that interview, I sat on that for a good maybe 2 years. I didn't edit it, because I knew when I did edit it, I needed it to take all of my time and detail to make this right. Because I didn't want to just half-ass something that I feel so passionate about. And I knew we had a good interview, but I also knew it was 2 hours long. And if I was going to put it up there, I didn't want to put it up there as just an audio, because I'm more of a visual person, and it's just the way I work. So I found out that, I went and I checked out some locations and everything for ET, and I really wanted to put that video together for the 39-year anniversary of ET. I should have waited one more year and done it this year, but I put it together, and I asked him for different pictures of him when he was that age back in 1982. And he has some pretty good stories as well. And it turns out, I think, I don't know if we actually talked about it in the video, but it turns out after that, we might have made a mistake. And it sounds like perhaps we may have seen E.T. on the same day in the same theater 40 years ago. There's a possibility. So we talked about that. And then I took a bunch of video clips from E.T., video clips that my dad took of me and my brothers and sister when we were young, dealing with ET, and a bunch of pictures that I had. And I just put them in there at the right times for that video, for the video with the audio podcast. So, I mean, you could just listen to it without watching it, but I highly recommend watching it, because certain parts, I actually went to the locations and I filmed, not just me standing in front of the house, but what the rest of the area looks like. Because in the movie, you only see the house, and then it tricks you what the rest of the neighborhood looks like. But if you actually go to the house and look, it doesn't look like it did in the rest of it doesn't look like what you think it looks like in your head when you're watching the movie, because it's just a little cul-de-sac. You have to go down a different street to get to the other part where they're doing like the Halloween scene where they see Yoda and all that. So, Barry Manilow and the Bee Gees. Stay alive, stay alive. What else? I think I've told you most of the stories. We want to. Let me. Let's pull up some of those photos that they let me use, and we'll go through those, and then maybe we'll go on to the next subject, or we'll end the stream, whatever. So these are some of the pictures that I was able to use. Some of them are ones that I just downloaded, but most of them, they are high quality pictures from the behind the scenes of the movie and stuff like that. So they figured if I was going to do that, I might as well have high quality pictures, and I concurred. So I don't know which one I did. This one? Yes. So look what I did. I made like little frames and everything, so you can see me, and you can still hear me, right? You can still hear me? Hello? Yeah, I think you can. So let's kind of go through some. So obviously this is E.T. and Elliot. I'm trying not, I would assume that most people have already seen this movie. So I'm not going to guarantee, I'm not going to give spoilers, but I still think you should watch this movie if you've never watched it before. Unless you just don't like really, 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 really good movies, then don't watch it. But this is leading up to this is actually one of my favorite scenes of the movie. And this is the goodbye scene. And I learned that Elliot nailed the scene on the first take. By the way, there is a video that you guys, I know that a lot of you probably already know this. It went viral a few years ago, but there's a video out there of how Henry Thomas got the part of Elliot for E.T. So apparently they went through like hundreds of different kids that they wanted, that they were trying to find the right kid to play Elliot. And they really came to the conclusion they weren't really happy with any of them. And then somebody was like, well, there's this little boy that we think might work. And I think he was in Houston, Texas, or somewhere around there. I could be wrong on that part, but they flew him in, and then they told him they couldn't even give him all the details. They just said, pretend that there's this creature, this alien, and he's your best friend. He's like your dog, but he's like your best friend, and you love him, and he loves you. And then there's these bad guys or agents, and they want to convince you that they want to take him away from you. And you got to Google it. You got to watch this scene if you haven't already. And he starts, you can't have him because he's my best friend and he doesn't want to go with you. And he starts crying, and he's like, he gets really into the character, and they're like, kid, you got the part, And yeah, he's a perfect for Elliot. And another thing that my uncle, who my late uncle, he would always. He was a deep thinker. He was a college professor, and he always would come over. And I remembered we would always, even before I was old enough to play, they would always play like Trivia Pursuit with my parents and stuff like that. Anyway, I remember in my grandmother's house once when I was little, he said, Christopher, because we were talking about E.T. He's like, okay, so E.T. is Elliot's best friend, right? And I'm like, yeah. And why is his name E.T.? And I'm like, well, I don't know. That's what Elliot named him, E.T. And like at that age, I wasn't really sure. Like I didn't really know. And he's like, oh, well, I'm like, I'm thinking now like, oh, they named him E.T., extraterrestrial. But then my uncle said something. He's like, well, what is the first and the last letter of Elliot's name? And I was like, E.T. Elliot, E.T. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, wow, I didn't, that's cool, So let's go back to the pictures here. So I'll kind of go through them here. So yeah, this is leading up to my absolute favorite scene. You're not going to see me watch this at this scene with dry eyes. This is so yeah, I might have to reposition this, and I don't know. I like it how it is, but it might be a little bit off center. But I do want to show you guys like the whole picture. Obviously, right here, you guys, this is Steven Spielberg, Drew Barrymore, who plays Gertie, and then in the background, I believe these were the federal agents that were looking for E.T. Let's keep going. Drew Barrymore played Gertie. Steven Spielberg wearing his Hawaiian shirt. Yeah, so some of you have seen that edition too. E.T. is what humans look like in the future. I mean, who knows? It could be. It could be. And little, we have to understand he was a lot more intelligent than us too, even though it sounded like, oh, he can't speak, and oh, he can E.T. phone home. He can speak now. I mean, he learned to speak English in like one day. I still can't believe it's been 40 years either. It's crazy. Okay. Little Drew hurts your heart. She's so adorable. She definitely was. There's some other stories about her going there to audition, or no, to be on the set, and they were trying to get in, and I'm gonna screw up the story. Maybe I shouldn't even tell it. They were trying to get in. They're like, nobody can come. They were like, nobody can come in here. We're filming a movie, and her mom's like, she's in the movie. I'm like, oh yeah, go on in. Okay, so this is Steven Spielberg, and I believe this is Melissa Matheson. Now, hold on 1 second. I just want to make sure that that's her. Yeah, I think that's her. So Melissa Matheson. Now I'm saying this all from memory, so I hope I'm not wrong. Don't hate me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this is all correct. So Steven Spielberg wrote E.T. and he took some of it from what he wrote from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And then he was looking for somebody to put this into a screenplay. And he was looking at the writer of The Black Stallion. And he's like, she's an amazing writer. And he asked her if she would write this E.T. movie. And she turned it down. No. And then he asked her again. No, she said, no, I'm not, I can't, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it anymore right now. And then, I think if I'm correct, she married Harrison Ford at one point. Unless I'm completely wrong on the people, but I'm pretty sure. And then he asked her again, and she said, okay. So she's the one that wrote E.T. for the screenplay the way it is now. So if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have the amazing story that we have. I mean, Steven Spielberg came up with it, but she turned it into what it is as a screenplay. So hard hats off to her. Now, Spielberg directing Henry Thomas in the last scene where he nailed it on the first try. Drew Barrymore with Steven Spielberg on set. This is the neighborhood that I visited, and it's in a little cul-de-sac. That's the scene right there. That's scene right there. That will make me cry. He's like, stay, come, and then that's it. I try not to give spoilers away, but that's a very powerful scene in the movie. And if I keep talking about it, I'm probably going to get crying. So let's go to the next scene. Wow. Look at what this says. 244A. A44. A244. I didn't know that until just now. A244. A44. What the heck? Yes, they filmed this October 2nd, 1981. What was I doing? I was just being a 5-year-old. Probably playing Transformers and Voltron. I love this scene too. I love the atmosphere of this scene. Obviously, this is a black and white photo, but if you guys know the scene I'm talking about from the movie, outside in the shed, this is some of the inspiration that I want to film parts of my movie with. The scene, the atmosphere right here when he's directing Elliot to throw I think that's a softball, not a baseball, into the shed. Don't worry, Mom, we'll check it out. Yeah, what a synchronicity, right? Yeah, there are some spoilers in here. I already said that, so. Imagine if I had that right there, that little ET badge. I wonder how many people in the world still have those. So if I remember here, what was the story behind this? Like, she was really crying because, this was interesting too. When they filmed this movie, from what I heard, normally when you film like a big Hollywood movie, you don't film it chronologically. It's just not, it's within the budget. It's just easier to do things like everything that needs to be done in the scene. We're all going to do that today. Everything and it's usually not chronological, which, most of my YouTube videos and stuff like that are always chronological that I do. So it just keeps everything up here. But Steven Spielberg purposely filmed everything chronologically for E.T. because he wanted the kids to be able to understand what they needed to do to act to get to the point that they were at. If they had to have a sad scene at the end when they never made this like bond and relationship with E.T., it's not going to be as powerful as if, they filmed all this stuff with E.T. and then at the end, happens what happens. So that was pretty interesting. And I guess this was a part where E.T., I don't want to give all the spoilers away, but something was happening and she was really crying in real life. She was really sad, even though E.T. was just an animated part. And also, please, if you find E.T., you got to find the original, because Steven Spielberg, I like that he didn't do it the way that George Lucas does. George Lucas usually goes back and he changes everything about his movies so you can never find the original. Steven Spielberg digitized and CGI'd E.T. and a lot of other scenes in newer versions of E.T. And watching it wasn't the same as the original. And honestly, I like the original a lot better. I think it looked a lot better, and I'm glad I can still get a copy of the original because it's the original and it's the one that I saw. And the newer one, quite honestly, there's something about it that just doesn't ring the same. And so if you are going to watch it, try to find the original one from 1982 that doesn't have the CGI in it. I think the original animatronic ET looked a lot. They did an amazing job, like just like the veins in his face, and when he was like looking and when he was like eating something, like it just looks so good. And little known fact, the voice of ET was a really old lady, and I don't know if they credited it because they didn't want people to know who she was. I guess I don't know, something weird like that. I forget her name too. I did know it at one point. She's not alive anymore. Hello, Janine. Thanks for... And Joseph is here as well. We are doing... We're actually quite... What are we, at least an hour in? Yeah, we're almost an hour into our ET episode live stream. 40-year anniversary of ET. But this is... I mean, they did an amazing job creating the actual physical ET. And I mean, this right here, like I needed, I already liked, riding bikes, but I needed like a good BMX at this point because there we are, and I believe this is C. Thomas Hall right there. So I actually met him a few years ago. I'd still love to meet the rest of the cast. All these houses are obviously built now, but at the time, there they are, riding their bikes. That was another big part that really got me to like it. I just liked that, they had the bikes, and I don't know, is that Pot Smod? Which was like a little, no, like a little rotator. I don't think it is. My cousin taught me about that. It's a little thing so you can do stunts on your bike and your cable won't get stuck in it. The Halloween scene, I think Steven Spielberg even dressed up too on a Halloween scene to make everybody laugh and to, have everybody happy for, filming this. And look at them. They're all crammed in there with a bunch of like expensive cameras and just having a great time. Imagine being able to go back in time and being on set of this. Spielberg doing his director stuff. One of the best parts. There's Gertie, Drew Barrymore, getting out of her chauffeur, whatever, limo. E.T. and Gertie. There's the older brother, Mike, Robert McNaughton. I think he went on to become he works for the post office. And so notice this as well. So E.T. is extraterrestrial, very intelligent species of alien life, able to go interplanetary solar travel. And look at the plate of food. It's all vegan, I watched it and it's like you think that E.T. would, like when you're that evolved, you probably would eat, all vegan food. There is a scene where he tries like the sour cream dip and he's like, oh. But anyways, yeah, I thought that was interesting too. And again, this is 40 years ago. There they are. This always reminds me of the Neil Diamond song. We're going to take a ride across the sky. You and I. Does anybody else remember that song? Turn on Your Heart Light. First movie you ever saw in the theater? This was definitely one of the first movies I ever saw in the theater. Although, I feel like, this might have been my first movie, but I don't think so. I know my mom took me up to a movie theater in Cazenovia, New York when I was little, and I think it was before this, and we watched Bambi. And my first movie that I saw in the drive-in was Gremlins. This is the beginning scene of E.T. You guys do remember that song. Good. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I haven't heard it in many, many years, and I could probably still sing every word of it. Turn on your heart. I'm not going to sing it though, because, And Reese's Pieces. So the first time we went to see E.T., obviously there was like concession stand. This is long before I was vegan, long before I was vegetarian. And I don't think we got Reese's Pieces. But the second time we went to see it, we had to have Reese's Pieces. And here's the true story behind Reese's Pieces. And I feel like I'm having this problem with my movie. Hopefully I don't think my movie's like E.T., but there are similarities. I did draw inspiration, but what I'm saying is I'm not like, I don't think I'm going to have like one of the top grossing movies in all time. So anyway, when E.T. came out, they wanted to have a candy in there, and they wanted M&Ms, and they went to M&Ms and they said, we're doing this movie about an alien and a boy, and we want to use your M&Ms. And the executive that they talked to was like, no, we don't need our M&Ms in an alien movie. No. That person probably got fired because they went to Reese's Pieces and they were like, because they wanted like little candies like that. So they went to Reese's Pieces, which was their second option. And they said, we're doing a movie about a boy and an alien. We want to know if we can use your candies in the movie. And they were like, and they made the right decision. They said yes. And that candy blew up and became one of the most coveted candies in movie concession. And I think it might even be so till today. I just wish they were vegan. Because if they were vegan, I was thinking about it. I was thinking about like, how can I make these vegan? I wanted to do a YouTube video. I wanted to have them ready for today, but that's pretty hard. You probably need a special machine to do it, or, it's not easy. So, I mean, to make them at least really smooth and look like they actually do. So who wants to go halves with me and make some vegan Reese's Pieces, like E.T. themed? That'd be vegan zombie, E.T. I'm giving you guys away all my great ideas. Anyway, reach out to me if you got the means to do that and want to go halves with me. Because I think I would buy that. So I think that would do amazing. Have them like a nice package to them that is like, vegan zombie E.T. themed, and I don't know. Anyway, don't be the executive of M&Ms. What I'm trying to say by that is like I've asked so many different companies that I've supported over the years to please, you want to be in my movie, like please let's do some kind of sponsorship, and they all said no. Anyway, next story. There's Happy E.T. or Happy Elliot, who may be a little drunk, maybe. Not by anything bad that he did. We already saw that picture. There's a nice picture of the city, the town, overlooking the city. Oh my God, this just brings me right back. Just the houses and, oh my God. The spaceship. I drew a spaceship like that. I think I showed you guys recently. I found some art that I did when I was a little kid, and it was pretty much that spaceship that I drew. I don't know where I put it. It's probably over here somewhere. I save everything that is like nostalgic and important like that. We already saw that. There's Steve and E.T. Ouch. Ouch. And then he says, I'll be right here. Amazing. The infirmary. Sick E.T. Another really sad part. We're sick. And I love this part. I love the atmosphere of, this is what I'm trying to articulate in my movie. If I can get an atmosphere at some point where the way they did this in the kitchen, living room area, earlier when they were playing Dungeons and Dragons, and don't worry, Mom, we'll check it out. That scene right there, and this scene right here when he says something incredibly funny, which, by the way, I won't say what he says on here, but they're saying like it's alligators in the sewers, and the coyotes, and he's like, it was nothing like that. And then the mom, that's Dee Wallace, that's who I met. She didn't know what Elliot was going to say because it wasn't in the script. In fact, Steven Spielberg whispered over to Elliot and he says, say this when it's your, turn to say something. Get up and just say this. So he got up and said that, which was not in the script. And you can see a genuine laugh from Dee Wallace at that point. She stays in character, but she's like, Elliot, and she starts laughing. She's like, this whole atmosphere right here is the way that they did it. And there's one other movie and one other show that was able to recreate this same similar atmosphere. And the movie was Super 8. And there's a part near the beginning where they're all at a, kitchen table area, and they captured it perfectly. I think Steven Spielberg was there to help consult on that movie too, but they captured it amazingly, the same as they had it here. And the other show that I found has captured some pretty decent atmospheres like this is Stranger Things. I noticed in the first season, I was like, wow, and I was just hooked because of that. So here he is again in class, and behind him, I think that's Erica Eleniak. She became famous later on too. I think she was in Baywatch. This is the shed scene. There's Dee. I think that might be C. Thomas Howell right there. So Mike had a few different friends there. There's Mike on the bike. And there's that old station wagon. So I also heard that he was he had to ride that bike right down the hill, as fast as he could, and there was no brakes on it. So when he came down, the rest of the people were waiting for him to get down there, and he had no brakes. Peter Coyote. I don't know how he says his last name, but the story with him is, as I believe, he tried out for I don't remember what movie it was. Maybe it was Close Encounters, but he tried out for another movie that Steven Spielberg was doing. And when he went in there to read for the lines, when he was leaving, he tripped over the lights and the lights all fell down, and so he didn't get the part. But when they were doing E.T., they were trying to think of somebody to play his character. And Steven Spielberg was like, who was the guy that tripped over the lights? I think he'd be perfect for this. And they reached out to him, and he got the part. I love the behind the scenes stories about movies being made. When I shoot my movie, I'm going to do all kinds of behind the scenes for if anybody cares, because I know I will care. He freed the frogs because he made the connection. And I don't want to give anything away, but I have very similarities in my movie. But he made the connection to, he's looking at the frogs, the teachers basically said, this is normal. This is what we do to the frogs. You put the chloroform, they'll go to sleep. We'll dissect them. And Elliot just started looking at the frog, and he's like, this frog looks very similar to my best friend, E.T. And then he was like, we need to save him. And he put him out, and he freed the rest of them because he made that connection. See, that's all it is the connection. Little did he know, he was a little compassionate vegan in the making. Looks like he's giving E.T. a bath. So this was a set. They weren't actually there, and he just gave it away that it was a set that they made. But there is a scene that overlooks that. You can go to that actual location. There is an actual location, and then there is the set that they put in there, so that they could do what they did. I mean, you guys are probably just looking at Spielberg, but I'm looking at the whole room here because just the way it's set up is just nostalgic again. Um, um, it looks like he's at an award ceremony. This looks like Jerry Lewis, and that's probably Melissa Matheson. I don't know who these people are over here. That kind of looks like, it's not, but it kind of looks like Guy Pearce, which Guy Pearce would be way too young at that point. But that's what he looks like. D. Wallace. So there was supposed to be a nude scene. They cut that right out. Glad there wasn't, because E.T.'s just... So last time I saw this picture, I was looking at this and I was like, just thinking like really deeply. So these are all the people that were part of the production of E.T. And, I don't know who any of them are except for, Spielberg up here, right there, Spielberg. But just imagine being, alive at that point where you were just, the cards were played right and you were on the making of this film. I mean, that's how I feel about it because it's my favorite. Maybe it's just, they had no idea what this film was going to become. Just like they had no idea Star Wars was going to become something that it became. A lot of people didn't have very high expectations of it. So he's wearing the Raiders of the Lost Ark shirt. As you know, Spielberg and Lucas were very, very close and worked on the same projects at the beginning. Nurse's office. So this is another scene that I don't think I have a picture of, but so Elliot ends up going after he releases all the frogs. They send him to the principal's office, and the principal, you only see his over his shoulder, and like I think maybe his feet were propped up at one point, and then you see Elliot. Maybe the feet weren't propped up. Maybe you just see over his shoulder, and you hear the principal's voice. And the principal was actually Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford played the principal, but that scene was completely cut out of the movie. Dee Wallace, I always thought of being my fantasy movie mom as well. So that was why I was even more starstruck when I met her. Here they are in the woods trying to get E.T. to call some of his homies. Directing Elliot over here. You can tell that Steven's like, you got to go like this, Elliot. I can already tell that's probably what he said. You got to turn on the flashlight and who is it? Who's over, their dog, Mike, E.T., supposed to be Gertie, and Elliot and Spielberg. Dee Wallace as the panther or cougar. I'll be right here. Yep, there's Erica and Henry. There's Dee right there in front of the house. I have a picture. I went to this house. For the most part, it still looks the same. There's now trees that are growing up and down the driveway. If you want to check out my picture, just go to my Instagram account, Vegan Zombie, and I posted a little video there today. So that's the day that I was telling you Steven Spielberg dressed up for Halloween when they were shooting the scene. So he was, I guess, the OG Mr. Mom or Mrs. Doubtfire. The kitchen scene when E.T.'s drinking some burrs. I can hear the music. If you guys cannot hear the music, then you haven't seen E.T. So this is the principal scene. So that's actually Harrison Ford right there. It looks like he turned around as he's talking to Elliot, and E.T. made Elliot levitate up there. They took that scene right out. Peter Coyote. Who still has that E.T. doll? I got some different E.T. figures and stuff. I never had that one. I still have the original Gremlin stuffed toy, Gizmo. There they are. I gotta say, for 1982, this looked real. Oh, I had Fox Mulder in there. That didn't go in there. The Science Room. I may have one of these in my movie. There's Steven Spielberg dressed up again. They all dressed up for Halloween and had a fun time. There's Harrison Ford on the set. Probably just got done doing Indiana Jones. I think the second one, not Raiders, Temple of Doom. Maybe. Also Star Wars. Yep. Popular dude. Sinister Primus. They were making up words here. Zero charisma. Sinister Primus. There's a really good documentary about Steven Spielberg, and they talk a lot about E.T. And that's where I learned a lot of what I'm saying. Other stuff I think I probably just looked up or watched some stuff. Singing. He's the original Timmy Mahoney. Remember Timmy Mahoney from Flatliners? With the red sweater? Kiefer Sutherland. Sorry if I'm Lavender, yes, that's exactly how I felt. I don't know if you just joined us, but I told the story of how I saw it when it first came out as well. So same thing. 1982, June, hot summer day. There I am. So this was a Halloween kind of like, this was the horror convention around Halloween. So I was dressed up. My buddy was dressed up as like 80s, and he gave me those. So we made up our names. Like he was like, we basically took off like Nikki Sixx and Ricky Rocket, and but we came up with like kind of like variations of those names, and that's why I'm wearing those sunglasses and those gloves. And C. Thomas Howell was there, so that was the day that I met Dee Wallace, and I wanted I asked him if we could take a picture, and he's like, yeah. And I took one, and I'm like, oh, can I do one more? It came out all dark, so he got in there again, and I snapped another one, and that was it. He never spoke to me, nothing. He just got in my picture, and that was it. So I met two people from ET on the same day. Stay gold, pony. Thank you, Ari. Ari sent me these album stickers. Original ET, by the way. Generic. Tried to be E.T., never quite was E.T. Wait a minute, hold on. Do I need to get one of these megaphones for when I'm directing? Hey everybody, A44. So that's how they shot the scene with E.T. It was a practical effect, not, where E.T.'s wearing the ghost outfit where they're going trick-or-treating. They put this little piece of cutout paper in front of the camera lens, and that's how they filmed that part. Genius. Who came up with that idea? Artwork concept for the spaceship. Ronnie Strickland. I don't know why he's in there. You're killing me, Smalls. That was from X-Files. The ship. So this was a weird part, you know, when they all came in, it gave you just like a not so good feeling when all these agents came in dressed like spacemen, and that's what he was going for. And you can see the Halloween thing on they rented these people's. This was somebody's real house, and they rented like the whole house. They paid them to use their house during the filming of this. And unfortunately, I don't think I have the pictures that I got of me in these places. And I think that's the last picture. There's Henry Thomas with Yoda. So, I don't think videos. I do see a couple more photos I could share with you. Let me put them in another folder so I can, because otherwise I'm going to be scrolling through and some are going to be video and I want to find just the photos. I don't have all of them, but I found a couple. 3 of them. So this is, oh wait, one of them's a video. Nope. One of them, 2 of them. Okay, so there's just 2 pictures here. Okay, so if you can see that, this is the house. This is at the end of a cul-de-sac. I wanted to see, because my my buddy, we were driving up there, and he had it plugged in the GPS, and I'm like, okay, don't tell me, like, don't read me off the GPS. I want to try to guess what house it is as we go up there. And as we, like, you know, like, went around a few more turns, I was like, there it is, and I knew it right away. So this is the house. Let me blow it up a little bit. And this is how it looks now. It's got a bunch of these trees on the edge. So, it you know, it looks pretty similar, but, you know, it's got more trees there. And there I am, posing in front of it on a hot June day in California. Standing in front of, like, as a kid, I would never imagine, like, that, oh, I mean, I'd be standing in front of that house. If you told me that when I was a little kid. But anyway, that is E.T. Linda, I know about Mac and Me, about you said it was just like a commercial for what, McDonald's? Yeah, Mac and Me was nowhere near. I think that they tried to ride the coattails of E.T. and they just couldn't do it. You can't really strike lightning twice. Capture lightning in a bottle. Is that what it is? What's the phrase? I should be going to garage sales too, because you can always find something. Let's go to some California garage sales. What else? So that's pretty much my ET stream. Other than that, does anybody? So I don't know if I probably missed if anybody said what movies do it for you guys. What are your favorite movies? I have so many movies that are my favorites, but it's not hard for me to say that E.T. is my all-time favorite. Out of every movie, there's a lot of good movies out there, and there's a lot of movies that I love. But there's nothing that can make me feel the way that E.T. makes me feel. And for that reason, it's my favorite movie of all time. The Lost Boys is one of my favorites as well. And Lost Boys gives me a nostalgic feeling in other ways than E.T. does. So Lost Boys was my most watched movie of the 80s. I watched that. I knew every single word of that movie, Lost Boys. And then later on, I memorized every single word of Interview with the Vampire. And I ended up watching that more times. I was crazy and watched it like almost every day. What was I thinking? E.T. is on Sci-Fi right now. Like right this minute. That's amazing. We just got done talking about all things E.T. From my experience. So if you love E.T., rewind this stream later on, and we don't even have to say rewind these days. Just go back to the beginning and watch it, because we got a lot of ET stuff there. And I urge you guys, if you are interested in any of my stories or anything like this, my friend also has some really good stories that he told as well in our podcast that we did, and that's pinned right up to the top right now. So if you guys want to check that out later on or another day, or just save it in your queue, maybe you can listen to it or watch it another day. Jaws actually put Steven Spielberg on the radar. Jaws was what gave him the edge to, do all the other movies. Beetlejuice was also a good one. I myself am strange and unusual. Flight of the Navigator, another one of my favorites. David Osborne. Another movie that Henry Thomas was in that is not as well known that I really liked was Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger. Some of my other all-time favorites, if we're all saying them right now, are The Goonies, Stand By Me. I always liked The Monster Squad, which I think that came out in 1985. Oh, there's so many great movies. I think I just named a bunch of 80s movies, but as we go on, I liked, there's some other, like I love Last of the Mohegans and Great Expectations. Oh, and Never Ending Story, since we're talking about those two. He says that in the movie. Silver Bullet is a great one with Corey Haim and is it Gary? I always get Gary Busey and Nick Nolte mixed up. Which one's in it? Is it Gary? Moonwalker. I don't remember Moonwalker. I remember Lady Hawk. Oh, and another one that I really like that was like, I guess it's kind of cheesy now, but it's like the perfect cheesy. I love it. And his daughter is a famous vegan chef. The Beastmaster with Mark Singer. The Beastmaster. You're welcome, Molly. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was Gary Busey. Okay, good. I always get them two mixed up. The Never-Ending Story is an amazing movie. Yeah, it's another sad. Here's a fun fact. Some of the movies that I love the best are the ones that can evoke so much emotion. And for me, the emotion is sadness. So if there's a movie that can make me sad, I will never forget that movie. And spoiler alert, I may have a scene like that in my movie as well. I can't wait until my movie's out because I really want to be able to talk to you guys about all this stuff that I haven't been able to talk about because I don't want to give spoilers away. It's a surprise. But those are the movies that do it for me. Like if a movie doesn't do that for me, and I might just think it's a cool movie and then like forget it a week later. But if I'm still thinking about that movie a week or 2 weeks later, it did something. It did something to me emotionally. It was able to do what E.T. did, to do what Last of the Mohegans did, or what Great Expectations, or The Never-Ending Story. Artax! we won't talk about that anymore. But there's so many movies that can do that, and if they don't do it, then I feel like they missed. There's something that they missed that they could have done in it to make you remember it. I mean, think about it. I used to always watch Pete's Dragon, but there was something about it that put me off. I don't know what. I think it was the bad guys. I just think it was like my jam was Puff the Magic Dragon. Now that was a sad one, and it really tugged at my heartstrings. I mean, if you listen to the words of Puff the Magic Dragon as a little kid, it's sad. Though Michael Jackson Moonwalker, yes. I didn't. The Point. We just talked about that recently. Mike, I heard you're at the Sydney Film Festival. That must be amazing. 20 movies in 10 days. Have you seen anything that is up there in your top movies? I still sing songs. I haven't seen Pete's Dragon in probably just as many years, probably almost 40 years. And I'm still singing. And I think maybe the words are a little bit wrong, but it's a razzle dazzle day. I will break that song out just for no reason sometimes, and just everyday life. I'll just start singing it. But Puff the Magic Dragon, I mean, one sad day it happened, Jackie Paper came no more. And Puff that mighty dragon ceased his fearless roar. His head was bent in sorrow. Green scales fell like rain. Puff no longer went to play along the cherry lane. Without his lifelong friend, Puff could not be brave. So Puff that mighty dragon sadly slipped into his cave. A dragon lives forever, but not so little boys. Painted wings and giant things make way for other toys. Maybe I got those mixed up, but that's the gist of it. That's pretty sad. Jackie Paper grew up. Puff's best friend went away. What was Jackie thinking? That's not a very good friend. I feel bad for Puff. Nude Tuesday, the first movie ever spoken in gibberish. That sounds funny. It's kind of like, that's so funny because I was just talking about this. I heard something the other night and I was like, because Rachel is always playing like The Sims and they talk in Sims language, which is in the gibberish. And I thought they were talking in gibberish, but I just couldn't hear them. They were actually speaking in English. Oh. So, yeah, we could talk about movies all day. The other thing, because I didn't talk about it in my last live stream because I had a special guest on, so we talked about other stuff. But I wanted to change the subject here from movies, from favorite movie E.T. of all time, to what my second to last video was. I wanted to there was a lot of comments on that video that I put out there about the uninvited stranger that showed up at my house. And I just wanted to answer some questions. I went through and I tried to answer as many as I could on the YouTube video itself. But for those that were curious, it seems like, yes, those are astronomical odds that at my last house, there was a naked guy that showed up in my yard. And just a couple weeks ago, there was also another naked guy that showed up in my yard. And people were wondering, like, that's not a coincidence. It's got to be the same person. I assure you with a 100% assural rate that it is not the same guy. These are completely two different people. I saw the guy that just came to my house recently. I looked at him with my own eyes right through the glass. I saw his face. I know what he looks like. And then the other guy, I saw a picture of what that guy looked like. These are two completely different people, which makes it very unlikely that this would happen to me twice. Now, where's my winning lottery ticket? You know what I'm saying? The other thing is a lot of people... So one of the updates that I have done since then, which actually just came in the mail today, is I ordered 2 new motion sensor floodlights that are solar power, so I can put them anywhere. And I need to get a ladder to put one on the house, but the other one I put on a very big oak tree out back because, you know, I'm always letting the dogs out and it's super dark out there. Again, no streetlights in this area. And so I got one out there. So I'm excited to see how much it lights up tonight when it gets dark out because I just put it up today. And then the other one I'm going to put on the back side of the house to let people know. A lot of people said I should get lights in the driveway and stuff. So just to give you an idea, I'm a night owl. So I'm usually up all night. So those floodlights in my front yard are usually always on, and right up to the steps. So when this guy came here, those lights were on. So, you know, it was easy to see him on the camera and it was easy to see him through the window when he came up to the front porch. The other thing is if somebody's going to come up to see, I knew he was coming because I happened to see him. But if I didn't happen to see him, I likely would have got a notification on my motion cameras. I have 2 of them in the area that would have given me a motion sensor. So the other thing is a lot of people said I should get blinds for my window. And the reason why I'm not going to get blinds, is because I'm the highest house in the entire neighborhood. Nobody can look into my house. You can't look into my house from the driveway. You can't look into my house from down at the bottom of the driveway. It's up a hill. There's no way for anybody to look in my house unless they actually go right up the stairs like this guy did. Now, if he's going up those stairs, I will get a notification from my camera that there's movement right there. So either way, I will know that there's somebody up on those stairs. And that's the only way they can look in there. There's no other way for somebody to look in the window unless they're literally in a helicopter. So there's that, and we got a ton of plants in that main living room. So it's just convenient for the sun to come in there and, you know, hit those plants with that photosynthesis. You know what I'm saying? And then so the other thing that my dad said that I should do, which maybe I'll do tomorrow, Sunday, maybe next week, is I can go down and go to the trooper barracks and request an incident report of what happened. And that way I will see what they wrote up. I'll likely find out what the guy's name is, all of that information. So maybe I'll actually do that just so I know, so I have it, and maybe I'll know a little bit more information than I know right now. And what were the other questions? I never felt threatened at all the entire time. I felt safe, but other things went through my head. I'm a critical thinker. So when I saw him at the front door, the first thing that I thought was, obviously he doesn't have any weapons. He's naked. He's got a book in his hand. I mean, technically, maybe I could have a knife or a razor in the book, but no threat at that moment. But what I was thinking at that moment was, are there other people with him that are surrounding my house that are maybe going to try to kick in the back door? Was he a distraction? Those are the kind of things that went through my head. Other than that, yeah, I don't know if anybody else had any questions while we're here, while we're live. Whether you have any more questions about the movies, the ET, or this guy that showed up at my house, here to answer them while we're online, and then I'm probably going to get going. A naked Jehovah's Witness. Well, he did say he was the son of Jesus, and he said his name was I Am. And I don't know, somebody made a comment, I haven't heard of it before, but they said there was some cult a few years ago, and they were all calling themselves I Am. And I'm wondering, I don't know anything about it, I'd have to look it up, but that was interesting, to say the least, to hear that comment. When I was looking for the perfect title for that video, and when I was on my Twitch live stream, I was asking you guys what was a good title, and there was some pretty inappropriate ones. The one that I will say that I thought was funny and relevant at the time was A Stranger's Thing. Oh man. Speaking of that, so this is kind of weird as well. I just want to, I don't know if any of you remember, but I did a live stream a few weeks ago, right before Stranger Things came out. And I remember somebody said something about wanting to watch Stranger Things that were coming. It was, coming out in a day or two. It wasn't out yet. People couldn't watch it at that point, I believe. And I definitely didn't watch it. And for some reason, I started singing Running Up That Hill, which is one of my favorite songs. And I made some connections. I still haven't seen Stranger Things, but everybody, all the hype about the song Running Up the Hill, Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush from the 80s is just going everywhere, all over the place. And if you watch my live streams, every time we were talking about, like we were playing the game Valheim, every time we were talking about we had to run over that by that hill, I'd start singing that song, Running Up That. But I love that song, but I don't love unpopular, maybe this is an unpopular opinion. I don't love Kate Bush's version of it, although it's her song. I love Placebo's version of I always have and here's the thing that I put together, that I linked together here, is I first heard that, I didn't even hear it in the 80s, but I first heard that from Placebo, and it was for the theme for the movie Daybreakers. It was a vampire movie that came out in 2009 with Ethan Hawke in it. Okay. Now, here's where it gets kind of funny. So that's where I heard that song, Running Up That Hill by Placebo, originally from Kate Bush, in the movie Daybreakers with Ethan Hawke. Now it's in Stranger Things. And who's in Stranger Things? Ethan Hawke's daughter. Is there a reason that that song is in Stranger Things? Did Ethan Hawke have any influence on that? I don't know, maybe. Jared Leto gets the compliment, but I take the cake for what? Is this a bad compliment or a good one? I mean, compliments are good, right? David Gilmour from Pink Floyd plays the track on, for which version? Placebo or Kate Bush? Another version with Meg Myers. Well, now everybody's doing versions of it. But I would always, that was like one of my like go-to songs that I would listen to in my car, always by Placebo. And then, and if the radio, if Kate Bush came on the radio, which it has played on the radio in the last couple of years, I would listen to it because I love the song, but I prefer Placebo's version. I'm the better version of Jared Leto. Oh, thank you. I'm the better, poorer version of Jerry. Okay. Yeah, I get that a lot, and somebody I must have. Oh yeah, I just posted something on Instagram, and a bunch of people said I look like them, and they were referencing Morbius, which I still haven't seen that movie. So, and was there anything else I wanted to talk about? Oh wait, Linda, didn't I tell you to tell me to remind me to talk about something, and now I'm trying to remember what I told you to remind me to talk about if I didn't talk about it already. It's on HBO right now, but you have to buy it. Well, I'm sure I could buy it. There's so many movies I need to watch. I heard it wasn't good though. Morbius is on Prime, and I have Prime, but I still have to buy it. You wrote it down. Hold a second. Maybe I have it written down too. Where's my phone? Here it is. Now I have that song in my head. I opened up my Instagram and it was right up to D Wallace. Not the one I posted either, like actually her post. Okay, so Linda's trying to remind me what I was. Maybe I already talked about it. What did I tell you to say? I'm trying to find it. Remind me. I can't find it. I've got a lot of footage for vlog-like material that I have to edit for you guys. Now that I got some of my other videos out there. Just did a Aldi video. That one was, there wasn't really much there. I just showed what they had, and it wasn't, disappointing kind of. Got to do another. We did a Target one. Trader Joe's. I think I'm going back too far. And Linda, if you can find it for me, that'd be great, but I can't find it. You enjoyed Morbius. So that's one person I heard say they enjoyed it. I like to see movies anyway, especially when people say they didn't like it, because then it gets my expectations down, and then I watch it, I'm like, oh, that was actually pretty good. You want to ask me a question? If I could live in a planet in our solar system, which one would it be? It would be Earth. I would choose Earth. Because, well, we know we can't live in any other planets right now. But if you're saying if I could breathe and live on another planet, I would be very lonely pretty fast. And I would miss a lot of things that I take for granted on planet Earth. So planet Earth is our only home for now. Can't find it. Oh, what did I tell you to? I can't remember. I'm like, oh, remind me to talk about this because I forgot to talk about it. But maybe I already did talk about it. I don't know. Lots of scrolling. Yeah, we haven't chatted in a long time. And then all of a sudden you chatted with me for like forever. I don't think it's that far back, though, because we only talked that one day. Hi, Apple Tree. I just found out I have a crab apple tree, 2 of them in my yard. And I hear they're good for gardens because bees like to pollinate near them. Random info. So I had a blueberry bush, and it was outside, and those chipmunks ate all the blueberries off them. So I brought it inside, and hopefully it lives inside with lights. I don't know. Hopefully. We covered a lot of topics, and I'm at the point now where I'm kind of hungry. Maybe I want to go make some food. Maybe you guys want to go make some food. I wonder how many people have come and gone, or how many people were here the entire stream. Darn dang chipmunks. Yeah, there's so many chipmunks in my yard. It's funny because when I moved here, I thought it was odd that I hadn't seen a single animal, not even a bird, in all of these woods. And then slowly but surely I started to see different animals. And now there's a ton of these little chipmunks everywhere. I started feeding them, and they're like telling all their friends, like, come on over. You're vegan too. That's awesome. Congratulations on that. Do I have a Twitter stream for video games? It's a Twitch stream. I do have Twitter, and it does give notifications, but my stream is on Twitch. And my name on Twitch is the Vegan Zombie minus the E at the end. You're hungry per usual. Because you can't spell huge? How do you spell huge? You've been downing ice water? I got the same thing right here. But I haven't been really downing it. The birds always... You know what, Travis? I didn't actually see the chipmunks do it. So maybe it was the birds. Because we do have birds out there. There's a bird's nest right as I open the door. There's a bird's nest. And they built it in one day, and then there was 2 eggs in it. And then the next time I looked, there was 1 egg in it. And then I looked again a couple hours later, and there was no eggs in it. And the bird abandoned it and built another nest somewhere else. I think she just didn't like the fact that I kept going out that door with my dogs whenever I would let them out. So they were like, oh, got to make another bird's nest. Well, I can sit here and talk about like the past and the 80s and growing up during the time when I saw E.T. and all those other movies. I could talk about that forever. But, remind me next time. I got to find it and I'll show you. I told you guys this a long time ago, but I actually found the actual photograph from my buddy like a month ago. And I think I told you guys this before. There's a very unique and really nice falls near where I grew up, near where my parents live. It's called Chittenango Falls. It's beautiful. And one year, I can't find this anywhere. This is before the internet existed, so I can't find it online anywhere. So I think my buddy might have one of the only pictures that exists. But I knew that there was a picture of a minivan that drove over the falls, and it was stuck halfway down the falls. I have no idea the behind the story of it. I don't know if anybody got hurt or died or how they got it out or what happened. I know nothing. I just know that he's got all these pictures of a minivan over the falls, and now I have that picture. It's on my phone, but I'll queue that up next time we do a live stream if I remember, and I can show you it. Maybe I'll post it on my Instagram because it's something that I just think one of those things that nobody ever saw in the days of the internet, and then it's just, the only way you can hear about it is through somebody telling a story. But I have a picture. No way. Running Up the Hill just came on the radio? That's crazy. A lot of coincidence has been happening for me, but I feel like is this true? Is it happening for you guys too? Because coincidences or synchronicities happen for me at an alarming rate now where certain things where I normally would have been like, oh my God, you got to hear about this. Like, it's just like, I don't even mention it anymore just because it's so normal. It just happens all the time now. Like things that you don't think could ever happen the way they do are just happening at crazy alarming rates. Is that just me or is it everybody else too? You used to go to Lake George when you were little. That's another coincidence because I was just talking about Lake George a couple hours ago with my brother because we were supposed to. We go there sometimes for vacation. We haven't been there in a while, but we were talking about like, are we going this year? Did my brother get a campsite up there or not? Like, were we still doing it? That's funny. That is funny. Another synchronicity. You live near Lake George. Oh, yeah, you do. You live near the Albany area. I had a nice wholesome day yesterday at my parents' house. We pulled out the chessboard and my dad and I played some games of chess, and he found an old chess book that he had that he probably bought when he was a teenager. So I decided to look it up and I'm like, okay, so it's almost in mint condition. And I thought it was funny because he always writes property of Thomas Cooney, like in everything. So he's got his name in there that he wrote in there. He's got like the best handwriting. He does calligraphy. He does this all for fun. Like, I mean, I'm like, you could start a business doing this, but he does it all for free and fun. And, I looked at the copyright on the chess book and it was like 1956. I'm like, Dad, this book's like way older than me. It's almost as old as Mom. And it's almost in mint condition. So I'm like, let me look at this. Like, let me see how much this is on. Like, I looked it up on Amazon. I'm like, well, the good thing is it's worth like 4 times what you paid for it. But 4 times what you pay for it back then is not really that much money. So, but we had fun playing chess, and then I went out to see my other brother today to pick something up for the yard, like a wagon for the lawnmower, and his daughters, my nieces, they didn't want me to leave. They wanted me to stay around, but I couldn't. So I told them that we would do a video again soon, that you guys wanted to see a video, because Katie and I are supposed to do another Katie Needs a Napkin video with some lasagna. We were talking about that. And I told her, I don't know, Ari, are you still here? Ari sent some fan mail for Katie, and I forgot to bring it with me. So I have it here, and I'm going to bring it next time I see her. So that'll be cool. So she'll like that. You haven't been upstate in years? I haven't been downstate in years. In fact, I haven't been in New York City since February 2020. And where did we go to eat? A few different places. We went to the Ramen Hood down there, which not trying to be negative, but it's definitely not as good as the one in California. We went to Maewa. Have to go to Maewa. Maewa's got some great vegan things. What did the tree say to the bug when he was being eaten? Leave me alone. Good dad joke. No, I didn't see the new kids in the hall. Yeah, I guess Lake George is pretty poppin' this time of year, isn't it? There was a place we went to eat that had vegan pizza. I don't remember what it was called, but I'm sure if I looked back at my Instagram, I'd find it. No, it was nothing I said at the end of a stream, I don't think. I think I thought of something that I wanted to say that I totally forgot. I mean, I'll remember it after the stream's over with, and I'll be like, "Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about." Maybe it was something that I already did talk about. I don't know. As soon as I just read that, make lasagna, like my stomach just, I felt the growl. It actually hasn't been really that hot here. It's been nice. And where I am right now in the basement, it doesn't matter if it's 90 degrees out. It's freezing down here. Oh, I started redecorating my room. As you can see, I put a different poster up. I got Interview with the Vampire right there. And I know you can't see it, but I don't know. I kind of want to turn the camera, but when I do that, I lose the camera stream. I wonder if I could bring on... Maybe I could do this. I don't know. Let me see. This is my webcam. Let me see if I can add my webcam. Webcam's right here. Boom. Webcam. Bam. Boom. Okay, there we go. So let me just make this bigger. Okay, so look at that. I hung up different things in here right now. I really want to make it look nice. And I know you guys can't really see there, but over here I got some ET memorabilia up there. It's hard to see with this camera. It's just a webcam. And over here I got the Creepshow comic. That's actually Rachel's, and it's the original Creepshow comic. It's worth like $500. Don't come in here and try to steal it. And so I have Interview with the Vampire up there now. I got my YouTube plaque for hitting 100,000. That painting right here, that painting right there, that means a lot. My dad painted that for me. And then up there, that one, I got that one for my birthday from Stacy. She painted that. And while you guys are on here, I'm just going to announce this right now, which I will eventually announce soon in the Kickstarter. But everybody that's watching, this is a secret. Don't tell anybody. That's going to be the poster for the movie. The poster for the movie. And there's my ET shirt. What else we got here? Yep, that's the real sword. That's Aragorn's sword from Lord of the Rings. Arundel. And there's an ET doll right there. There's some of my cookbooks. I know I'm out of stock of these, but these are the only ones left that exist that are brand new, still in the package. And I felt like I need to keep some of these because, I don't know, they're out of print. And other than that, oh, the ET poster up there, of course. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I don't know. So that's my webcam. As you can see, it's not as good as the other cam. Of course it's not. Okay, who wants to go thrift shopping? We'll go to some garage sales. Yeah, that's the Creepshow comic that John kept knocking off the wall. I'm like, out of anything that you could knock off the wall, that's the most expensive, please. And it's like, bam, bam, bam. Oh, man. It's okay, though. I don't know what else to talk about. I've got a lot of swords. I went crazy one year and bought all the original, like, Lord of the Rings swords. So I've got Sting as well. I've got two of Sting. Sting is the sword that Bilbo first has and then gives it to Frodo that glows blue whenever there's an orc around. We didn't actually have too many technical difficulties today. Actually, I don't think we had any, did we? I think we're doing okay. We're doing okay today. Your antique junky shirt right now? Oh, definitely, yeah. The Witcher. Fuck. Sorry, I didn't say that. The Witcher did. He's got a nice sword. No alien interference today. An ancient Roman bust from a thrift store. I found I found a bust of Abraham Lincoln at a garage sale when I was like a teenager, and I thought it was the coolest thing. I'm like, look what I got for 50 cents. I'm like that. I haven't been to any thrift places in a while, but I'm like that too, AJ. If I see stuff that I'm like, why are they throwing this out? I need to take this. I need to have this. And right now, I mean, I have all my toys from when I was a little kid. It's all up in the attic, but I feel like I should take it out and do some pictures and videos of all my Transformers and Voltron and stuff like that, because I joined a Facebook Transformers page and that's all everybody's talking about on there. So I'm like, I have all these original Transformers. Like they're talking about like generation 2 and 3 and 5. And I'm like, I have generation 1. Like I have the original one. I mean, a lot of them do too, but they're just more coveted. They're just more rare to find. Like, you know, I think I got 2 or 3 Optimus Primes and Soundwaves. The one Transformer that I always wanted that I never had. And now as an adult, I could get it. I probably should get it. Can anyone guess? A very popular Transformer. I don't know if anybody knows Transformers here. But if you do, I'll give you a couple of seconds to guess which popular Transformer I never had that I always wanted. And surprisingly, I haven't seen or played with or had these Transformers out since like the 80s. And just looking at them now, I can recall all of their names. And I still know how to transform them, all that stuff. It's like, sometimes I don't even remember people's names. It's like, what's that person? But I remember Transformers. I love Cosmos. He was like a little flying saucer. Not Bumblebee. I had a few Bumblebees. I still have Bumblebee. Not Bumble. B. I'll give you a hint first. He's not an Autobot. He's a Decepticon. You're just going to start a list. Well, I mean, you could. If you started doing it, I feel like you're going to get it like right off the bat. Not Starscream, but I'd say he's probably one of the most popular ones. Not Omega Supreme. There we go. Alpaca Llama. Megatron. I never had Megatron. And then my friend had Megatron and decided that it was going to be cool for him to put in the road, and then he was going to launch his bike on top of it. And I was like, no, don't do that. I want him. He's like, no, he's mine, and I want to launch on him. I'm like, no. And he launched on him and broke him to pieces. And I was like, no. Do you know how much he's going to be worth in the future? Anyway, maybe I should look for Megatron. Oh, and then there's a story. This is the other story. As a kid, I wanted Optimus Prime very bad. But it would be okay if I had Grimlock, the Dinobot. And my dad was going to work, and I asked him so bad, I mean, my parents were pretty awesome, but we didn't get we weren't like spoiled with, I mean, they were good to us on Christmas and stuff like that, but it's okay to say we grew up pretty poor. Okay, so I really, really wanted Optimus Prime, and I understood that I probably wasn't going to get him, but I'm like, I just want a Transformer, please, Optimus Prime. And I was really good, and I think they said they would get me a Transformer. I'm like, Optimus Prime. And he came home with Kickback. Now, Kickback is just an Insectagon. And I was so disappointed and bummed out that I had Kickback instead of Optimus Prime. And I still have Kickback. And the memory I have from getting Kickback and not Optimus Prime is very dear and special to me, because my dad got me Kickback and it wasn't Optimus Prime, but that's okay now. I mean, I see that he went out and did that nice thing for me that I didn't appreciate at the time, but I do now, if that makes any sense. and I saved that. And that's a sentimental Transformer. That Transformer is worth more to me than another Transformer because my dad got me that Transformer. Okay, my dad came home from work and he gave me that Transformer when, he probably didn't really have the money to be doing that, but he got it for me anyway. And so that would be worth more to me than, Optimus Prime, because I did get Optimus Prime later on in life, but, Kickback is probably worth something now because he's original Generation 1, and I still have the box that he came in. I kept all the boxes. And the reason why I kept all the boxes is because not that I thought that they were going to be worth anything, but because on the back of the box, it tells their stats. And some kids would just cut it out, but I just kept the whole box because it looked cool. So it tells the stats, like their strength, their intelligence, their, all of that stuff. And nobody really had strength and intelligence as high as like Optimus Prime. Megatron's was pretty high, and they had to be, they used to be good friends back in the Cybertron Wars, and they were gladiators together, and they got freed, but then something happened and they turned on each other. You've got the touch. Am I a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer series? I was watching it at one point, but I didn't really get into Buffy as much, but I did get into Angel at one point. So the shows, so back when I was going to college, this was in the late 90s, early 2000s, I didn't hang out with anybody. It was a real weird time for me. I had just moved back from Florida, and I was a hermit. I had seen some bad things, and I just was a recluse, okay? And I just decided that I would just go to school, and I didn't hang out with anybody. I had like this lust to learn as much as I could because I felt stupid. I felt naive and stuff like that. So I started going to school and learning everything. I always hated school, and I was just an ordinary student, but I started going to school and getting like all the best grades I could possibly get. I was getting like 4.0s and 3.8, 3.9s. And on top of that, I was learning other things as well. And in my free time, while I was learning all this, I started watching religiously shows like the X-Files, and I started recording them on VHS, and I started watching Angel. And do you remember the original show Roswell with Katherine Heigl? That's how she became famous. It was an alien show. I really got into that show. I would watch Buffy sometimes, but not as much as the other ones. And then later on, I got into Lost, and yeah, I binged all these shows, but X-Files was always my all-time favorite show. Yeah. I just sometimes go into too much detail when I tell a story. The Transformer that was a tape player, there was two of them, but the one you're probably talking about is Soundwave. There was Soundwave, he was a Decepticon, he was Megatron's right-hand dude, and then there was Blaster, which was the Autobot, and they both had tapes, and I have both of them, and I have the tapes, and Soundwave would be like, Ravage, Rumble, Laserbeak, Eject, Mission, Attack, Autobots. And they would all come out. They were like these little tapes, and one would turn into the bird with like a camera scope on his head, and the other one would Ravage. I loved Ravage. I remember trading everything I could when I was in like second grade to a friend for Ravage. And Ravage was like a panther, and Rumble was like this little man that had like these big stompers on his hands, and he would make earthquakes, which was weird because he was so little. So let me tell you about Lost. This is how I think this is one of the shows that because I would watch, I had Lost on DVD. Somebody burned it for me, and I started watching it that way. But X-Files, I had to wait. So X-Files was on FX every single night. There was a new episode. It was like, I didn't watch it from the original when it was on, and I think it started in 92 or 3 or 4, somewhere around there. And I started watching it in like the late 90s, early 2000s religiously from episode 1. And I started watching them and I started recording them. And this went along with, because I wanted at that time to become an FBI agent. I wanted to be a special agent in the FBI, just like Mulder and Scully. And like, I watched everything that they did and I wanted to solve like violent crimes with serial killers. So that's why I was kind of like teaching myself everything I could outside of going to school to get the best grades. That was my inspiration. And I realized like, I'll just be like, a hermit, recluse. I won't have any friends because I basically stopped hanging out with everybody at that point. And then, later on I started hanging out again and stuff like that. But that's pretty much what happened. And, when I started watching Lost, here was just like an example of Lost. I'd be like, I have to get up early and go to school in the morning. I'm going to watch one episode of Lost. You never watch one episode of Lost, okay? Anybody that watched Lost knows you can't watch one episode of Lost. So I watched one episode and I'm like, all right, I'm almost done with this. And then it leaves you at this cliffhanger where you're like, I have to watch another episode. Okay, one more episode and then I'm going to bed. So you watch another episode and you're like, what? Okay, one more episode and then I'm going to bed. Lost. One more episode and then you're like, okay, I can't do this. Like I need to go to bed, Lost. And you're making it so I have to watch another episode. And like this is what I would do. Like I'd watch 5 more episodes than I was willing to watch because they left you at these like crazy cliffhangers and I was so involved in this show. I freaking hate the ending. But anyway, I was so involved in this show that I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Oh man. Okay, so my ex-girlfriend got me into Charmed. I did not want to watch it at first, but next thing I realize is I'm sitting there like, are they vanquished? Like, what are her powers? Oh no, and now I know everything about Charmed, and I've got the box sets of Charmed, and I'm watching all the Charmed episodes, and I'm like, I mean. I am human and I need to be you got the Morrissey, which I think was remade. Anyway, so I know what you're, talking about there with Charmed. What else did I get into? When I moved to Florida, my friends got me into 90210. I was like, you're not going to watch this, are you? And they're like, yeah, we're watching 90210. We do every night. I'm like, all right, fine. Next thing I know, like, what's David and Donna doing? No, Dylan, come on, man, Mr. Walsh, and you knew that there was time to talk things over when Mr. and Mrs. Walsh and Brandon and when they all had their ice cream out. And they went to the Peach Pit and it was a remake of the Smiths song. I was into the Smiths when they like long time, early 90s. Rushing and pushing the land that we stand on is ours. And I don't listen to him anymore. Oh yeah, that's that. Yeah, yep. The Smiths. That was well. I still like that album from the Smiths, but I haven't listened to it in many years. We are down the nostalgia rabbit hole, aren't we? Meat is murder. Every day is like Sunday. Rachel is upstairs, yes. Still haven't seen the X-Files. I watched the X-Files religiously every single episode until it no longer had Mulder, and Scully in it. And I watched a few of them, but it just wasn't the same without them. I had Robert Patrick in it. You know, the T-2000 or whatever. Subdeviant. Did you ever go to that Target? Oh, talk about songs that are stay in the car. Like you're driving home, okay, I got to get in the house, and then a song comes on, and you're like, oh, just got to stay in the car for a little bit longer. The T-1000, thank you. Sarah. You're not Sarah Connor by any chance, are you? Yeah, I mean, truth is, I did say that I needed to do the lasagna video with Katie. She was learning to roller skate today. Is it? What time is it? Oh wow! I had no idea that it was. I had no idea it was even dark out. It's dark out and it's 10:30 almost. What time did we start this? This has been a 2.5 hour live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We talked, if you guys are just joining us and you want it, we talked a lot about E.T., about my experience with E.T., about the people from E.T. that I met, about how I met them, about the places and locations from the movie E.T. that I went to, and you know my childhood recollection of when I first saw E.T. 40 years ago. All of that we talked a little bit. We moved on to the weird encounter I had at my house a couple weeks ago with the naked stranger. I answered some questions there, and then we started talking about some more 80s things, and now we're talking about different things. So if you ever want to go back and watch any of that, that's what I'm going to have to come up with a different title, am I? And then up at top of this stream, I have pinned the podcast I did about E.T. with one of my good friends a few years back, and we both are very fond of that movie, and we both saw it when it came out in the theaters back in 1982. So we talk about our memories and our different childhood experiences we had, and it's a good podcast. It's probably one of the only podcasts I've done, other than, if you want to consider some of these live streams when I have like people on here, podcast or not. But anyway, June is your 34-year V anniversary. Well, that's amazing. Congrats. That's a long time. You bought the new 2% silk today. You know what? I think people say that it tastes all like milk, and then it's in your head that it tastes like milk. But when I tried it, I don't think that it tastes like milk tasted to me. I tasted it for what it was, and it didn't taste bad. So I was like, yeah, this is okay. I thought it was good, but there are other ones that I like better. So I probably wouldn't get that again. But if I ever went somewhere and somebody had it, I would definitely use it. Cause it's good, but I tend to like the oat milk a little better. Oh, my dad used to watch all the Star Trek when, before I was even born. He loved Star Trek and the Twilight Zone. And, he got me into watching them when I was a little kid. And Star Trek. I like Star Trek. I haven't seen all the Star Treks, but there's a few of them, the really good ones that I really liked. And one of them in particular, where I don't know if it was like Deep Space or The Next Generation. I don't know. I don't remember which one it was, but they had their ship orbiting another planet. And if I remember right, time moved differently on the planet than in orbit. So they were witnessing a civilization being born and growing and, advancing over a short period of time for them up in orbit, but for them, and I think something happened where they got such. I could be wrong because this is a vivid memory of this, but I really like these time, different sci-fi things that deal with time. And I think that what happened was they got to the point where they were so advanced that they were able to, come up and see what was in orbit, which was the Enterprise or whatever ship it was at that point, and be able to, board the ship because they were moving so slow compared to the other species or whatever. I don't know, something very crazy like that. If anybody knows which one I'm talking about, if you're a huge Trekkie, let us know in the comments. It's probably one of my favorites. Soy milk tasted so weird to you when you first tried it. I love soy milk still to this day. Soy milk, cashew milk is pretty good. I never was a real fan of almond milk, although some of it's okay. I normally go for the vanilla flavored ones. The flax milk is pretty good. And the rice milk was the first. No, Rice Dream vanilla rice milk was the first vegan milk I ever tried in my life when I first went vegan, long time ago. And that to this day is still one of my favorites, but I tend to go with the regular, just Wegmans oat milk now. Voyager. Oh, did somebody answer my question? When you saw the Next Generation, didn't even look. Are you talking about Star Trek Next Generation or the Silk? That's weird that you say that, because if that's what I think you're saying, when I first saw it too, I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, Silk, what? You're making real milk now? And I almost just looked away from it, and then I was like, wait a minute, put my camera back on this. I think that they made a different vegan milk here. You hated rice milk? The vanilla rice milk was my favorite, and it's still one of my favorites today. It's a lot more watery. It's not thick, but it gives me that nostalgia, and I could drink it right out of the container. I didn't like the chocolate, and I didn't like the original, but I used to buy cases of them. There was a place in Florida when I lived in Sarasota called the Granary. And there was a health food store up here, Mike's, that I would buy a whole case of it. And I'd buy a whole case of it when I lived in Florida, because it didn't need to, it was shelf stable. And then I would just put whatever I needed in the refrigerator when I needed to open a new one. And that was my rice milk. Sandpaper pieces in water. I don't know what you were drinking. But that wasn't mine wasn't like that at all. Mine was very, it was almost like flavored white water. Yeah, Mike's Discount Natural. Everyone called it Dirty Mike's though, so. I stopped going there because he had people follow me around wherever I went to make sure I wasn't stealing. And they even admitted well, you're wearing a hoodie. So what do you expect? And I was just and my friend just grabbed the basket and she put it on the floor and she's like, come on, let's go. And I was like, but I really wanted that stuff and there's nowhere else to get it. We used to go there and get food after the shows. I remember seeing Shelter and 108 and then going to a Mike's, grabbing a seitan sandwich or something. Yeah, and my friend used to work at Nature Time too. I used to go there too, and I stopped going there a long time ago as well. Oh, they had the Rice Dream bars too. I was actually talking to somebody today about, somebody was asking me if like why how come like after all this time with all these products, how come some of these old products are still better than some of the new products? And I agree for the most part. Like there are products, like a perfect example for me at least is I haven't had a single. Oh my God, that's another coincidence that just came up. But hold on one second. I haven't had a single vegan cream cheese for me that tastes better than the Tofutti cream cheese, other than maybe the homemade one that they make down at Bagels on the Square in New York City when they have vegan cream cheese down there. But for me, Tofutti has always held up, and it's been around for like decades. And, you know, there's some that I just don't like, and then there's some that are okay, but nothing has beat the Tofutti for me. Ralph, let me okay. Thank you for the super chat for 237. And we already know why you always give me the 237. I haven't seen the new Stranger Things yet on season 4. But it's funny because last night I was literally watching something about The Shining and the 237 and the 217 and all of the things that Stanley Kubrick put in there. So another synchronicity there. Well, thank you for that. And I'll let you know when I do watch Stranger Things how I feel about it. Yeah, Tofutti. And a lot of people don't remember or realize, if they're new vegans, that Tofutti not only had cheese singles that were super good, and to this day I think they still hold up. I like them, as well as frozen pizzas. And if you find a Tofutti frozen pizza, I haven't seen them anywhere in a very long time, but if you find one, they are, for me, they were really good. I used to eat them back when I was early 2000s, when I was going to, even before that, like, you know, I think late 90s I used to get them, but early 2000s when I was going to school in New York City, that was one of the things I used to like sometimes get in, just easy food, put in the toaster oven, and I'd have my pizza. Super good. I don't know why they stopped making them. Yeah, the Tofutti Cuties are another OG. I've got a video of us talking about it back in 96, although they were out before that. But I actually have a video of us talking about Tofutti Cuties at my friend's house when I was living in Florida. Well, it looked like an Elio's pizza. It was a rectangle, and it came in like 3 slices. The ricotta's okay. It's a little bit bland. I think you can make your own a little bit better out of all their products. Probably that would be the one that, but their cream cheese, I mean, it's got saturated, it's fattening and stuff like that. So it's definitely comfort food. But if you want to get a nice hot bagel toasted up and put some of that Tofutti cream cheese on there, it is delicious. It's so good. And they do have different flavors. It's just, you know, if you can find it. I don't see the other flavors anymore these days. A couple years ago, I found the, what is it? The French onion chive or whatever. And then there's another one, strawberry. Twin Peaks. Now, my dad loved Twin Peaks when it first came out. And I was like too young to really understand it at that point. But I do remember it, and I remember buying the soundtrack. I used to go to sleep to the soundtrack. And actually Fox Mulder was in it. Was in Moby actually sampled the music for that for his song Go. Maybe that's why I liked it so much. But I told him that when I met him. I was like, yo, my first skateboard video that I edited and put to music, I used your song Go. And he's like, cool. Maybe he didn't say cool. I think he just was like, okay, what's the big deal? Oh, man. Yeah, Dea does make the strawberry cream cheese. I'm so glad that Dea came out and did what they did, but I'm not really too much of a fan of the Dea stuff. It's not as good. I will say their cutting board shreds. I think that they're much better, and they are good, but I don't like to put too much on. Like if I'm making a pizza or something, it turns into like a melty goo, and I just lightly put cheese on it for me. I remember Tofurkey when they first came out, and I have almost all the boxes from the original Tofurkeys. They had the dumplings, they had the wishbones, they had the tempeh drumsticks, and they had the brownies. They've gone through a lot of different things that they've had. I actually met Seth, the owner of Tofurkey. I've never met the Tofuti people. I've met the Follow Your Heart people. He wanted to show me. He's like, hey, I met him in an expo. He goes, I want to show you a picture because I look just like you when I was your age. And I'm like, what? And he shows me a picture, and he's got a big beard and he's got long hair. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And I know you can't find it hardly anywhere. I can't find it anywhere. But once upon a time, I don't know if they still have it or not, but if you can find it, if you can find them, then hire the A-team. No, if you can find it, Follow Your Heart makes, I did a taste test on it. They make the best vegan yogurt, but I can't ever find it. They sent me a bunch of them, so I was able to do it that way. But, oh my God, it's the best. And right now, as far as yogurt goes, I really like the Silk Vanilla. Is it the Silk one that I like? It's the white container with like the yellowish lid. Anyway, it's my favorite. I don't know. I don't know if it was Amy's Brownies. That, it could be. I didn't know who made it. I have an original. Is it over here? Where did I put it? Oh, I wish I could find it like right now. I want to show you guys. I'm looking all over. Like, where is it? Where is it? I have an original, or one of the original, Follow Your Heart Veganese jars. Veganese has been around for over 40 years now. And I have one of the original jars. Well, maybe not the original jar, but one of the older jars back from 1994, 94, 95. And it's a glass jar with a metal top, and nowadays it's a plastic top. So if I can find it, I'll show you guys. As far as sour cream goes, I kind of prefer just to make my own sour cream. I know Tofuti has sour cream and Kite Hill has sour cream. A lot of people say they like the Kite Hill cream cheese the best. I beg to differ. I like the Tofuti the best. Although Kite Hill's not bad, I still like the Veganrella. Oh my God, I thought that was so good when that came out. Just because I hadn't had cheese in so long, but that was awful. The Veganrella, that was awful. I'm like, the heck with like shredding it up. I'm just going to eat it straight from the brick. And then it's screwed up my stomach and, yeah, we made a sour cream years ago. We did a whole week or two of Mexican food, and we did, burritos, salsas, sour creams. Yeah, long time ago. It's cashew based. If I was gonna go with a sour cream, that you could use my recipe, a very easy one to make, but I would say that the Tofuti one's not bad. I don't know if it tastes exactly like sour cream the way I remember it, but it's not bad. It's definitely, you could use it. They also have a ricotta, which I just mentioned. I would say try to make your own ricotta, but their cream cheese is like, if you want a cream cheese, I would go with their cream cheese over the rest. And if you're looking to just go vegan now and you try something that is not good, there are products out there that just aren't good, but I would suggest you try other products because especially nowadays, there's so many products that are good. And then on top of that, there's so many recipes out there where you'd be surprised, but you could make your own very easily, and it, something delicious no matter what you make. Oh, the Just Mayo, they took that away. Well, I'm sure Deviant remembers this, but it wasn't before Veganase, but before Veganase was widely available in stores around here where I live in Syracuse, we had Mayonnaise, and it was more like a dressing. It was like supposed to be like a mayonnaise, but it was like way waterier, way more watery, and it just was nowhere near as good as like Veganase or any of the ones that you can get nowadays. Like the Hellmann's has one, which is actually pretty good, and the Just Mayo, if you can find it. Yeah, I kind of want bagels and cream cheese. The Wegmans has bagels, really good bagels, and for a while they weren't vegan. They started putting honey on them, but they're all labeled vegan now, and they're kind of expensive, but like if you want a good bagel, like they have some really, really good ones. It's their fresh ones, and I always get either the sesame or everything bagel, and toast it, and slather some tofutti cream cheese on it, or make a tofurkey sandwich on those bagels. I always make sandwiches with them too. Although it's been a while because I've been eating super Whole Foods healthy for the last like month and a half now. Hellmann's is pretty good. I mean, you would think that they would have to be good. I mean, they've been doing that forever. All they have to do is, hey, make a vegan version of it. Okay, after we tried to sue everybody, I guess we'll join them. Yep. Everything bagels are I'll eat everything bagel with a peanut butter and jelly. I don't care. Yeah, I know they have vegan cookies. So I did a video years ago. They started that. There was a vegan in the bakery at the Fairmount Wegmans, and I did a little interview with her, and she started making all these vegan baked goods and stuff, and then they wanted to expand and train the other bakers at the other Wegmans so that they would start doing it. So yeah, they have, I gotta say, some of them are good, and some of them just are not good. Some of their desserts are not good. Some of them are, some of them aren't. I guess that's this. When I went to Whole Foods, all of their baked goods that were like vegan by them, that I had, at least in my last video that I put up, they should be ashamed to put that out. They were disgusting. The cookies, I mean, how can you make cookies that bad? I mean, just because they're vegan doesn't mean they have to be bad, And the brownies were just like, for me, at least the ones I got, those brownies, they were like, there was something, they were tasteless. And those cookies, the texture, they weren't crunchy, they weren't soft, they were like just like these weird, it was like almost like a Jolly Rancher that was like you're slowly bit through and then pulled apart, and I don't know. Pizza bagels, yeah, I like pizza bagels. They did have vegan pizza bagels at one point. I don't remember who had them. Oh, I haven't been to Sprouts. I have a video that I did at Sprouts, and I can't find it. And I was with my friend when we went there, when I was visiting California. And I think it would be a fun video if I could find it, although it's really dated because it's probably like 5 years old. But she was roller skating through the store. I wish I could find it. I don't think I ever posted it. I don't know where it went. How many videos have I filmed that I never posted? A few. I did one in Toronto. I never posted that. Went to Doomie's in Toronto. So Publix. Okay, so I wish I did, but I didn't. But I wish I did videos of what I ate back when I first went vegan, and I didn't because I didn't know it was going to be a thing. But so in my camera, I just made stupid movies and recorded skateboarding. But there is a video that I mentioned that I saw of me and my skateboarding friends videoing, and my friend was holding my camera. So it shows me actually a rare video of me, because I never liked being in front of the camera. So a rare video of me walking through Publix, probably 1996, and going to get vegan stuff for what I was going to eat. So I probably cuts off and doesn't show everything that I'm getting because I wasn't really focusing on the food, but I think that I should probably try to find it and maybe show you guys. But yeah, I used to go to Publix and Albertsons and Winn-Dixie. And for pizza, I remember Papa John's was not around up here at all, but it was down in Florida. And I used to get the Papa John's pizza down there. And I used to go to another place, which I've only seen down in Florida, and I haven't been there in 25 years, but Hungry Howie's. I used to get vegan pizza from them. Well, no cheese or anything, but, just get a sauce pizza with vegetables and then breadsticks and stuff. I'll try to find it, AJ. My never before seen videos. I have a whole bin of old VHS tapes and Hi8 tapes that eventually I shouldn't even talk about it because I always say I'm going to do it, but it's just I get so busy. And I have been. Will there be an E.T. 2? Joseph wants to know. I sure as heck hope not. E.T. is one of those movies I hope they never do a remake. I hope they never do a part 2. I don't want to change. I know that's selfish, but I don't want to change the way I feel about it. And I feel like it would be super hard to make the way I feel about it, to make something that would make me feel even better about it than the way I already do. I think some movies are best left untouched. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Some movies I don't care. Make a remake. You know what movie I think from an 80s movie, if you want to talk about remakes or a part 2. I don't think a part 2, but I think they could do a remake just because the times then and the times now. If they did a remake of, do you guys remember the movie Brewster's Millions with Richard Pryor? I really like that movie, and I think they could totally try to do a remake on that today. He basically inherited, I think, $3 million. And if he could spend was it 3 or 300? It was either he inherited 3 million. Maybe it was 30 million. Maybe he had to spend $30 million in 30 days. And he had to have receipts for everything that he spent it on because it was harder than it looked. And if he did it, he would inherit 300 million, something like that. I could be off, but I think that was what it was. If he did it, he would get 300 million. And if he didn't, he would lose all the money that he had. So he couldn't just say I'm going to take the 30 million. I'm set with that. If he didn't spend it in 30 days, it all got taken away from him. So he had to spend it or he got nothing. And I won't tell you what happened, but yeah, I think they should redo that movie. Oh, there was no vegan lunches when I went to school either. Although I didn't go vegan until a couple months after I graduated from high school. I was vegetarian. I went vegetarian in 1990. And then a few years later, a couple months after I graduated high school, I went vegan. It's crazy because I feel like I've been vegan I've been vegan for most of my life, but yet I wasn't vegan throughout high school. That's well, man, you must be old. I'm just yeah, I'm pretty old. You know what I'm saying? I had to spend 30 million in 30 days to get 300. So I was right. Yeah. Brewster should have bought an animal sanctuary. Well, maybe he has something he could do in the remake. Deviant for Life, thank you for that super chat. Maybe I'll go buy some Veganese with that $4.99, or maybe some of the Hellmann's. Best live stream, thank you. Vegan Rella, Tofuti Pizza, Nature Burgers, and OJ Tofurkey boxes. We all love it. Harvest Burgers were the best burgers. Joel from Strong Hearts seems to think that I'm remembering it wrong, but Harvest Burgers were the best. And you probably remember those. Like the package had like 2 burgers on a flame, and a flame was coming up. And then I think Green Giant bought it at one point, and then it was a green package, and then they just phased them right out. And it came with 4 patties in it, 2 patties that were frozen between a little wax paper. And man, I would make those up. I'd put like some vegan Willow Run. The Willow Run was the only butter that was accidentally vegan at that time. And it mainly came in like sticks. So I'd go from store to store to find my vegan butter. Oh, they got Willow Run at PNC. And I'd get that, and I'd fry up those. This is before the days of worrying about hydrogenated oils. We didn't know anything about that. And we'd make I'd make up my burger. I make usually 2 at a time because I was hungry. I was a hungry skateboarder. And then I would take that Wegmans bagel, and I'd like put it in that butter, and I'd toast it up on the skillet. And then I would have a burger. And there is a picture of me. Oh, I wish I could find it for you guys right now. It's a picture of me eating that Harvest Burger. I'm wearing an Anthrax shirt. I got shaved head. It's blonde. And the look I'm giving the camera is, get that out of my face. You know, nobody takes pictures of me. I only take pictures of other people. And that's the way, that's how I was. You know, that's how I was. I don't have many pictures of me, but the ones I have, let me see if I can find that picture. It might take me a second. I'll try to scroll for it while I usually repost it every once in a while, but I haven't posted it in a while. The light yellow and brown box for Willow Run. Yes. That was the only butter at the time that was accidentally vegan. Many of the other ones weren't. And then we'd have to find like, are these vegetable oils? Are the monoundiglycerides vegetable derived? Soy lecithin. But a lot of people don't know that L-cysteine comes from duck feathers, and some of it comes from human hair too. And it's in some bagels and some bread. So if you see I know I'm supposed to do a video on this. L-cysteine. Here it is. Here I am eating my Harvest Burger. Okay, so let's see what I got going on here. I'm drinking out of a Pepsi mug. So it doesn't look like I used a bagel here. It looks like I had 2 pieces of bread that I toasted up. And it's hard to see. You're probably not going to be able to see it from here unless I actually uploaded the photo for you to see. But there's an Encyclopedia Britannica behind me. This is me like in the midst of saying like, don't take a picture of me. So I'm not looking at the camera. You can't see my eyes or anything like that. But let's get a focus. There I am, my Anthrax shirt on, eating my Harvest Burger. This has to be 94, 95, somewhere around there. I'm at my parents' house. I don't remember who took the picture. Maybe it was my dad. Maybe it was my brother. I don't know. Probably not my brother. I probably would have tried to beat him up or something. Not really, but maybe a little bit real. Yes, Rob Zombie is vegan. But he's been vegetarian for a long time, but vegan not as long. I love being vegan too. Who loves being vegan? Say I. It's something derived from the duck feathers in the hair. And yeah. Yeah, I never did that with the t-shirts or anything, but I remember people that did. You probably heard, some of you probably heard this story before, but we used to always say, like, people would always say, like, go vegan. And then we, like, me and a couple of friends, we just like, we would always say it like, we would say it sarcastic. We were already vegan. We'd be like, go vegan, like, you know, like kind of, and we would just say that. And that just became part of my vocabulary, just being a smart ass all the time and be like, go vegan. And then it turned into being like, my mom would make food for us and she's like, Chris, you know, you can eat this. I'm like, is it go vegan? And then it turned into like, I would say that for the longest time. Like, is it go vegan? Is it go vegan? It was just like, you know, just us being wise asses. And then eventually it actually evolved into me saying like, is it go? Is it go? So around my family, I haven't said it in a long time, but if I say something like, is this go? Is this go? Most people don't know what the heck you're talking about, but my mom knows exactly what I'm talking about because it means is it vegan, to me at least, and some of my friends, we say, is this go? Let's get a new trend out where is this go? If it's go, it means vegan. But yeah, I always did that ever since, you know, I was a newbie vegan. And it's funny because an incident actually happened, like an event happened where like, I think we were at like a wedding or a graduation party or something like that. And my mom was there and she made food and there was food out there. And, you know, this is like in a largely non-vegan food area, but she made special food for me and my brother and stuff like that. And my friends that were there. And I don't remember what event it was, but yeah, it was some family thing or something. And everybody was there. And my mom comes over to the unsuspecting relative or friend or whoever was there that was sitting right next to her. And my mom just comes over and she goes, just so you know, this is go, this is go, this is go, this is go, and these are go. These are not go, so don't eat those. And then I look over and the person's like, what the heck is she talking about? What is go? And it's like an inside joke thing. It's like, you got to know. If you know, you know. It's go. You know, if it's go, it means vegan. So we got a lot of eyes there. Aye. Is it go vegan? Love it. So yeah, I always said that. So it's funny because I have that, like, I can say that to my mom anywhere. And, you know, I don't have to say go vegan. I have to say that. All I have to say is I could be at a party or something or an event and I'll be like, Mom, is this go? If I for some reason didn't feel like saying, is this vegan? You know, I could be, Mom, is this go? Yeah, that whole tray is go. And the last time she said it, I did a video with her and she had this whole tray of cookies and I pulled out my camera. I'm like, wait, Mom, what did you just say? She's like, what do you mean? I go, what are those cookies? She's like, they're chocolate chip. I'm like, yeah, but what are they? She goes, oh, they're go. I'm like, that's right, they're go. Didn't I say that I was going to end this at like 2:20, which was like 40 minutes ago? Anyway, I guess we'll end it now. This is a long live stream. This is a unscripted, unplanned Saturday talk about whatever is cool to talk about. Let's go. Yeah, Rob Zombie just did the monsters. I didn't know Amazon's making a Wednesday based on the Addams Family. Oh, let's go vegan. Oh yeah, I could fast all day. I did, you know, but I did eat a little bit earlier. Yeah, I'm kind of hungry. Yeah. Not sure what I'm going to eat, though. Ending with no Elijah story? Elijah? Oh, we got another super chat, $1.99, Vegan Zombie Live Stream. Let's go vegan. Thank you for that super chat. The Elijah story. The Elijah Woods? You want to hear the Elijah Woods story? Is that what you're talking about? Because I do have an Elijah Woods story. Oh, a couple of years ago, I used to do a stream every single night, right? And then it turned into just Wednesday. And now we're doing a Saturday. Elijah Wood. You want the Elijah Wood story of mine? All right, I'll tell that and then we'll end the stream. Okay. All right. When I lived in New York City, I was watching movies all the time, and I lived on the Upper West Side. And Lord of the Rings, I think it was Return of the King. Or no, maybe it was the Two Towers. I think it was the Two Towers. And so it was just coming out, opening day. And my girlfriend at the time and me walked down to the movie theater, which I don't remember I could walk to it right now. I just don't know exactly what street. It's probably on like over near Broadway and between 60th and 70th, maybe somewhere around there. Maybe it's not on Broadway, maybe it's the one before Columbus, but it's down there. And we went to the movie theater, and we got there super early because we like to get good seats. I'm like the kind of I'm like a total introvert, especially back then. And I was also used to be, maybe I kind of am a little bit. I used to be really agoraphobic too. So I know I wanted to go see The Lord of the Rings when it first came out there. So we went there first so we could get a good seat. And for me, a good seat is the very last seat in the back, so nobody can sit behind me. That's the same way I was in high school too. I hated it when I was in the front of the class and when somebody was behind me. So I wanted to sit in the very back. Why am I making this story so long? Because I'm very detail oriented. So we get there hours before they even let you in, and we're standing in line for the what is the good theater? What the I forget what it's called. The HD theater. Anyway, it's the not the normal movie, but like I forget what it's called. It's like the somebody help me out here. The really, I almost had it. What is it? Anyway, it's the IMAX. Yeah, I just said Max. The IMAX theater. Thank you, Constance. It was the IMAX theater. So we're standing in line. Now I'm thinking Red Hot Chili Peppers. And then this other couple comes in and they stand in a different line, and we're like, oh shit, we were here first, but like it doesn't matter because we'll just be second in line now, even though we were first, we were in the wrong line. So we go to the other line. Now we're second in line. Not a big deal. And then finally, they open the movies up hours later. We've been standing forever. We go all the way back. We get the best seats that we wanted, all the way in the very back in the middle. And we're looking at the IMAX like, well, I'm super comfortable, and I'm not anxious anymore. No more agoraphobia. And we can just wait for this movie to come on. And we're all sitting there. Everybody gets in the theater, and it's supposed to start, but it doesn't start when it's supposed to start. And we're all looking. Do we look at our watch? Because I never wore a watch, but we're like, what time is it? This is like back in 2000 and it's probably 2000 and whatever one came out in 2003 or 2004. It was one of those years. So if you want to look it up for me as I'm telling this, I think it was the Two Towers, but you could probably verify that by looking up which one came out. And I think it was 2003 or 4. So anyway, we're all waiting for this movie to come on, and it doesn't come on. People are wondering, like, why isn't this movie coming on? And then just then, when we were wondering why it didn't come on, all the characters from the movies come out as a surprise visit to our movie theater. So I wouldn't say everybody, but Elijah Wood was there. Dominic Monaghan was there. The Sean Astin was not there, I don't think. It was Elijah and the rest of the hobbits. Aragorn wasn't there. And so that was basically it. So the main ones were like, Dominic and Elijah, and they were all talking to us, and we were like, I was as happy as I could be, because I'm like, what are the chances that we went to opening night at the right time for them to come out and say hi to everybody for Lord of the Rings? I was super excited about this. And Elijah Wood is asking everybody questions, or no, everybody's asking him questions, and he's answering them, and Dominic's answering them, and I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, I forgot the movie's even about to start, or it's starting late, and like, I could do this all night, just asking him all these questions about the making of the movie and stuff like that. And then this one guy goes, I got a question. And Elijah Wood goes, yes, your question. He goes, yeah, when are you done so we can watch the movie? And Elijah Wood says, I can't say it on my channel, but he goes, well, F me, boom, dropped the mic and walked right off. And everybody was like, we were all so mad at this guy. We were like, boo to you, boo to you, not boo to Elijah, boo to you. Anyway, that was my story, and it's true, and it happened. What was it? Did somebody look it up for me? 2002, that's when it came out, 2002, around Christmas time? Around December, maybe? I don't know how they could be rude, but they were rude. Look it. I lived in New York City. There was a lot of rude people in New York City, so I wasn't surprised. You went to Vegandale in Chicago today. Awesome. Somebody else just told me they were going there too. It was so packed, which is great. It is. So that's the problem. It's great because it's so packed because there's so many people there. That's what happened at the last one I went to. And you're like, I love that this movement is like, it's so packed. But at the same time, it's like, I can't get anything because the lines are way too long. It's like 2 hours to stand in a line. And it's like, oh my God. So the last Vegandale I went to, I literally had like one thing. Like, I stood in line for an hour for them to say, yeah. They just weren't ready to do it. It was a pizza place, and they just were not ready to handle it. So we basically waited in line for them to tell us, no, we have no food for you. Let me just, The Two Towers, 2002. So it would have to have been that. That was the one I saw. And it came out. When did it come out? Darn it. Come on. I'll just go to Wiki. When did it come out? Wiki. Two Towers came out. Yep, December 2002. So it was December 5th, 2002 was the day that I saw this. Oh, that's Krampus Day, isn't it? I'd rather talk to the live actors too. I love watching the behind the scenes making of movies. Sometimes even more than I like watching the movie. Anyway, I know I said I was going to go, so I'm going to go, but I hope you guys like this stream. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for the super chats, and check out that video I linked above if you ever feel like listening to the 2-hour podcast that I did of E.T. I go into some deep, not secrets, but deep childhood stories, and I really go into it. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great rest of your Saturday. And watch out for zombies.